in Arizona on the I-40 eastbound through New Mexico. And tonight they plan on arriving in Glen Rio, Texas.
People are shocked by the reaction from the Trudeau administration, from the Canadian government, and I wasn't really shocked at all. I mean, they've made it really clear what they think about the pro-freedom movement, what they think about the truckers, what they think about anybody that's really against their mandates. And so I was more so just concerned. I respect it a lot, but I saw it and I said, okay, they're all going to go consolidate their location in this one city, and it's going to lead to dangerous situations. They're going to have to face confrontation, but they knew that going into it. And so I really commend the American truckers for now doing this after seeing what Trudeau and his people did in Canada. They know that they're getting into a sticky situation, especially speaking of how the Biden administration speaks about pro-freedom and anti-mandate people here in America. So.
Absolutely. Well, I just hope it makes as much of a difference as it did in Canada, but obviously we have a Bill of Rights here. We have a few more freedoms than they do up north.
If they stick to it.
Yeah. And that's where I think here it's like you just saw footage of those truckers going through Flagstaff, and then some of the reaction you're getting here on screen from all these truckers. I think it's making a huge difference, but they're not the only one making a difference. Mm-hmm. So like we cover this on TPUSA Live all the time, some high school kids, what they're doing for mass mandates, making sure those are ending. But I mean, this is something we got to support, and I think it's going to be able to make maybe even more of a difference than what we saw up north. But I think people are kind of used to seeing the confrontation that's going on up north that we see here, and hopefully it's less violent and there's a little bit more getting together.
I just saw a poster for one of our producers' moms in that video. That's fun.
That's a good way to put it.
That's a good way to put it. 501c3, right? The one thing I will say to this is I don't think it's a coincidence that the president is stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, and he's not willing to actually ease up on the restrictions that are making it harder and more expensive for Americans to fill up at the tank, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe he would be more willing to do that if he didn't know that there was a convoy of thousands of truckers coming to see him in Washington, D.C. Maybe he wants to make that more difficult. Maybe he wants to make it unattainable and more expensive, right? I don't put anything past these people. I know that they're sick and, twisted and demented folks usually, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that he's senile enough to, or cogent enough to do it, but I don't know. That's just a thought.
That's a good thing. And the lesson learned, I think, especially after January 2021, I personally believe the left was waiting for a moment like that because they needed
totally
justification to begin weaponizing the bureaucracy against the political opponents that they have, and that's us. And so that month what happened then gave them that justification, whether it was real or it was just the propagandized version of what they now tell us. And so I hope that if you are going to D.C., if you are in this convoy, understand you will be called slurs, you will be attacked, you will be defamed, and we have to disprove that narrative with everything that we do. I saw the Canadian truckers were cleaning up the streets and doing basic little things to prove we don't want to cause any destruction. We're trying to have a peaceful protest here. And so I hope that American truckers, if they're doing that, if they want to push forward, then we need to keep that lesson in mind. That's a big one.
I totally agree.
They're hugging law enforcement too, things like that. They're bridging the gap.
I think the Canadians actually really put forward a great example because I mean, when you're dealing with like these tyrannical entities, right? They're ready for violence. They're ready to crack down on people that want freedom. But I think for the rest of the world to see someone just peacefully advocating, demanding freedom, and then to see a regime crack down so harshly like that, I think the everyday average person views that and is like, something's really wrong here. I think people were seeing the footage that were coming out of Canada, coming out of Ottawa the past couple weeks, seeing the real police brutality, actually really taking peaceful truckers and beating them right in front of, off camera, off to the side. The police, the stormtroopers, thought there weren't any cameras watching, but there were. I think people see that, cameras. Right, all the time. People see that and they say, you know what, these are like peaceful people. The
Yeah.
federal government lied about these people. So I think
What?
that is the strategy moving forward. Remain peaceful, and if this tyrannical government cracks down on you, the rest of the world is going to watch and decide for themselves who are the real domestic terrorists that are advocating and using violence against people.
Yeah, and actually I was thinking of Turning Point. Did you guys see the video of the guy in Canada who, he's in Ottawa and he's walking down the street and he asked the police if he can walk by them to go get a cup of coffee? And they're like, no, no, no. And if you don't turn around, we're going to arrest you. Now, what's the justification there? And it made me realize, you know, we've all probably been a part of videos maybe that you ask people on the street some basic history questions, basic policy, government questions. We see that, and then we say, oh my gosh, our population is so uneducated. I think such a big lesson here is that not only are we uneducated on the history and the basic facts and stuff, but we really needed a reality check on what it means to have basic things challenged, like choice versus force, or your ability to peacefully assemble and protest. We take that stuff for granted. So this was a good gut check, I think.
Absolutely. And another breaking news that happened just a couple hours ago, President Biden has announced his nomination for the Supreme Court. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. The nation has had an interesting reaction to all of this. And we were watching the announcement, the press conference that took place.
We now have like the TPUSA HQ bunker.
Yeah,
back
we
there. We've been
do got a
watching all
bunker.
day.
You can't see it off camera, but we were watching it, and we had some interesting reactions. What was your reaction to it, John?
Well, initially, you just see the language that President Biden used. And we're going to get into the whole mass debacle later there. But I'm talking about how her parents grew up in segregation. Parents went to historically black colleges and universities. She refused to accept limits and all these things about just like leading up to. It's like, look at how far she's come. And obviously said, like, we are going to pick a female and she's going to be a black woman. So I think it's a bummer because too often you're going to have a conversation about, oh, it's just race. Is she actually qualified for this? That should be the conversation with anybody that's going to be nominated to the Supreme Court. And I thought it was interesting the way that she reacted to when she took the podium and she was talking about things that we've discussed on the couch a lot, where it's like two-parent households you're going to find way more success. She talked about growing up with parents. They've been married for 54 years. She talks about how I was born in the greatest country on earth. It's the greatest beacon of democracy, and aspects of her father being a role model, which I thought were important things. But I think we're missing the whole thing. Everybody wants to know, is she actually qualified for this position, or did she just get picked for this? That's what the question is.
She's definitely not qualified. I was very surprised to hear she had a backstory. I thought she was just a black woman.
Yeah.
You know, turns
I mean,
out
that would have been enough for them, right?
that's all that they really needed. I expect her to just go up there and say, you know, Wakanda forever or something, and then it would be done. To answer your question, John, she's not qualified. She's actually a very dangerous nominee in a lot of ways. She was an appointed counsel for terrorists at Guantanamo Bay, and that's fine. We're not going to hold that against her because, you know, you're an appointed counsel, you know, by the court. You have to represent who you have to represent. But reports say that she did it zealously, like she really enjoyed defending these terrorists. And then whenever she got off of that job, she went back and defended terrorists again because she liked it so much. That's not someone who I want on the Supreme Court to protect our Constitution. If you defend terrorists, you're not a protector of our Constitution. So no, she's not qualified. And I hope that senators will see that and we defeat the nomination.
Oh, and that's an interesting point. Did you see that Biden and his administration are looking to shut down Guantanamo fully?
Yeah.
So that's not good
It's a
timing.
big blow to her.
I would say, as a woman, as the woman at the table, I can say that it's really annoying to see high-level positions. This is a repeated pattern now, to be announced to say, we're going to pick a woman. Because maybe this woman, apparently she's not as qualified as we would like a Supreme Court justice to be, but maybe that woman is the most qualified. But for her boss, for the person nominating her, before she is even announced, to say that he's doing it because of gender and race, totally takes away from her story. That's a really cool story that you said, John. I love pro-family values. I love the fact that she talked about marriage and all these things. And it's totally ruined when the President of the United States sends that message out as that's why she was picked first. I don't want you to know anything else about her other than her name now. The other thing is, what kind of message does it send to kids, to now know that even the President of the United States picks his people to work in his administration, to work on the Supreme Court because of race and gender. What kind of message does that send to them and to little white boys and to little white girls, or to just males in general, black boys that are like, well, I'm not black and a girl, so that, demotes from my standard. It really makes me sad. To even the highest level of employment in this country, we look at things like that now.
What about
Yeah,
the
fighting
trans?
racism with more segregation totally makes sense, right? You just pick people based off the color of their skin and not the content of their character or their talent or abilities. For me, I've done a lot of extensive work with, with Black Lives Matter, Undercover, and Antifa, and to watch her prop up America was interesting because when you look at organizations like Black Lives Matter, and they're at the forefront of destroying racism in the United States, destroying white supremacy, and even President Biden mentioned in the press conference, the Supreme Court hasn't looked like America in years. What are you talking about? Clarence Thomas, there's Hispanic, right? But to see her prop up America like she did and praise America was interesting to me, because I'm curious to see how organizations like Black Lives Matter react to that.
That makes me happy to see.
Is this a black person that doesn't get a pass with you guys because she's propping up America? But that's what's interesting when we get into these conversations.
America, but
right?
also talked a lot about law enforcement. She talked about how her family has a history in law enforcement too. So you talk about how the left just tries putting us in these boxes. Specifically, she was saying things like, my father was my first professional role model. He started me on this path. He was a police officer in Baltimore, and then he served 2 tours in the Middle East, and then other family members served in law enforcement across the country. So it doesn't fit that box here. So it's going to be interesting to see how Black Lives Matter Incorporated and these other organizations respond to this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Connor, I want to get your take on this. So we got a war that's unfolding, and this president has horrible approval ratings. Terrible. This president obviously has interest. He doesn't care about Ukraine. He cares about his interests in Ukraine.
Right, of course.
And the American people have been starting, even in the past couple weeks, CNN was reporting some of these horrific polls of people literally believing that President Biden is not managing the economy right. So even CNN is reporting that, right?
They
So
have to. It's so bad.
is this move a distraction?
Oh, it's totally a distraction. We were doing the Charlie Kirk show earlier, and I was in the control room for 3 hours watching. We have CNN on the top screen, Fox on the bottom screen, right? And Fox is wall-to-wall coverage of the war, right, in Ukraine, because it's actually a pretty big deal, I think.
I think so.
Believe it or not.
On the verge of World War III.
Yeah, I mean, that's worth covering, I think. And CNN was doing that yesterday, but then it's almost as if they really couldn't care less about it anymore, because this new poll came out that said that 64% of people do not want to be involved in this conflict at all, right? So they said, oh, crap, we got to fix the messaging. So they got a call from the White House, I'm sure, that said, hey, pivot from Ukraine to Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm going to make my pick, and we're going to do the Supreme Court. So they were wall-to-wall Supreme Court all day. They didn't even have a little thing in the bottom corner. They didn't have a ticker of the Ukrainians who were dead, nothing like that, right? So, yeah, it's an intentional PSYOP operation, or a PSYOP. And they're trying to move your attention away from the carnage and the failures of this administration to actually do something about foreign policy, to some sort of weird, affirmative action domestic policy dream that they have. So it's a total diversion tactic, and we shouldn't let them get away with it.
Political strategy, talking about what doesn't matter to distract lemmings and mindless people that aren't really paying attention. So let's get into this. Let's get into Russia, Ukraine. We got some headlines just to give you guys some updates to bring you back up to speed. The Ukrainian government has called on citizens to make Molotov cocktails and to defend the city. It also says 18,000 guns have been given to volunteers as Russian troops approach and capture an airbase near the capital. The UK says the bulk of Russian troops advancing remain more than 50 kilometers away, and Vladimir Putin tells Ukrainian troops to overthrow their own country's leadership. And Ukraine's President Zelensky releases a defiant video saying he's not leaving, and the EU has placed an asset freeze on Putin and his foreign minister, and the UK too says it will sanction them. And Russia has been stripped of the Champions League final, kicked out of the 2022 Eurovision Song Contest, and stopped from hosting F1 Grand
Not
Prix.
Eurovision.
Is that going to stop Putin? Well,
Finally, some action.
there's some action, guys. But these are some interesting headlines. We know that there were conspiracy theories. And by the way, for our viewers at home, during war, there is so much misinformation, disinformation that is spread through. I mean, we're in the future now. It's not just TV, it's not just radio, it's not just imagery and photography, social media. Be careful with what you're posting and reposting and seeing on Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, yesterday I saw a video of, I think it was like a scene from a movie, and there were like explosions happening and like dummies flying into the air and people trying to say that was happening. Anyways, just the point is be careful with the disinfo. But here we are. Conspiracy theories floating around that Zelensky has fled Ukraine. There's been videos coming out that he's actually there in front of the Capitol to prove it. What's your guys' take on what's been happening in the last 24 hours?
Well, I think before we give our take, I think we have video 27 there. It talks about President Zelensky with other members of his cabinet saying, hey, we're here, we're ready to defend. If we could throw that up there.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші.
So to give you guys a little bit of context, there have been a lot of posts, disinformation floating around that Zelensky has fled Ukraine, which is not true. He posted that video a few hours ago proving that he's there in front of the Capitol in the city. I don't speak Ukrainian, but we
Morgan does.
Does she? What was he saying?
I do not.
Okay, she doesn't. And
There
we
is a
use
joke
Google
there.
Translate.
The producers lied to us.
I guess Google is still useful for something. He's basically saying that he's still there, they're still defending, they're still holding it down. But here we are, guys. Here we are on the verge of World War III.
And then another piece of breaking news, too, is we just found out from Press Secretary Jen Psaki that President Biden's going to sanction President Putin. So like yesterday, a lot of people were asking, like, why is there no gut punch and there's no personal attack here on Putin? So I guess him and then the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and members of the Russian National Security Team as well. So that just got released.
I think that we have a cybersecurity expert because we saw Hillary Clinton rearing her ugly head again, saying that we needed to do a cyber attack on Russia. So we wanted to bring in a total expert in the field. Brian Gamble is joining us over Zoom. Brian, are you there?
Here, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great.
What are your thoughts about this idea that we need to launch a preemptive cyber attack against Russia? You know, Hillary Clinton's floating it out. Would that invoke Article 5 of NATO if we did that? Is it a smart idea?
Well, I mean, if it's war. You know, if we're lobbing things at them, we can expect things to be lobbed back at us. So we have to be careful because we tend to play by the rules, and the Russians do not play by the rules. As a matter of fact, you know, there are organizations within the Russian intelligence agency that this is their specialty. I heard you talking about this disinformation that Zelensky isn't in Ukraine, and this is what they're trying to push. This is also part of that Russian disinformation organization. And so really, we play by the rules. They don't play by the rules. They actually outsource a lot of their hacking to mobs within Russia. So this is how they keep their hands clean. So you know, we'll suffer things in the United States, whether it's financial. They're always, you know, plotting against our infrastructure, our financial systems, our oil and gas, our electrical grids. You know, so we have to be very careful that, you know, what we do is going to have there's going to be a response to that, and it may not be a response that we're happy with. And you know, are we willing to, you know, what are we willing to do as well? So, you know, taking down a power grid could have a severe consequence against the population. And so these things, I'm sure, although they're on the table, I mean, you could affect millions of people with this type of stuff. So I'm sure we're weighing our options heavily, but I'm willing to bet that unless we in the United States are experiencing cyber attacks to that magnitude, to where our lights are flickering, or to whether, you know, oil and gas pipelines are shut down, I don't think we really get too involved with that. But again, it's a slippery slope that we have to be careful with.
And then we've been hearing this just kind of just arching this umbrella conversation about cyber attacks, and then we're hearing specific details about it. Like America's biggest microchip company, NVIDIA, they're investigating a cyber attack that completely compromised parts of the company's internal systems. Do you think there's legitimacy behind some of this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big one that happened recently was with SolarWinds. And, you know, this is infrastructure equipment that is embedded not only within our government, but business and institutions throughout our country. So, if there are exploits there within that equipment or within that software, they're waiting to ambush us. We don't know that because we haven't been exploited or attacked through that mean. So yeah, I mean, we could have a lot of trapdoors. With cybersecurity, it's tricky because you could build the highest walls around your organization. It only takes one, villager to open up the door, and then they come in, and that's what we're constantly dealing with in cybersecurity. But who knows at this point what exploits the Russians have in their Rolodex of exploits to attack us on. But it's certainly real. It's not, as you said, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's not James Bond. This is the world we live in. Albert Einstein said once, I heard, I know not what weapons World War III will be fought, but what World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Well, we know what World War III is going to be, what we're going to be fighting with. And a lot of that is code. A lot of that is the digital battlefield. So it's a scary times. There's no doubt about it.
Do you think that a cyber attack is a proportionate response to what Putin did if the United States were to launch one against him, or is there something more we should be doing?
It's a new era, to be honest with you. I mean, typically you want an equal response back with what you do. Right. But again, Russia, they don't operate under the same rules of engagement the United States does. Where we try to operate within the rules and the frameworks, international frameworks, but Russia doesn't play it that way. Like I said, you hear again Putin described as a mobster. That's exactly what he is, and he works with the mobs, the digital mobs in Russia, to keep his hands clean. So yeah, welcome to the new era of warfare. We don't know what to expect if we were to deploy our capabilities from like U.S. Cyber Command or whatever agencies. But yeah, it's a great question. We don't know because it's never been done before.
Gotcha. Can I ask one more question?
Go for it.
I don't mean to be hogging the mic here, but I'm generally fascinated by this kind of new era of warfare that we find ourselves in. We got off of this live stream we did yesterday, and someone pulled me into their office and they said, "What is going on? Or what's going to happen to us if Russia attacks?" And I was like, well, they're not going to do a ground invasion. They're probably going to launch a cyber attack against the United States. And they were like, well, what does that look like? And I said, quite frankly, I have no idea. So I'm going to ask you, because you're the expert here, what would a cyber attack look like against the United States? Would they go for our power grids? Would they go for our cell phones, our banking systems?
Critical infrastructure, financial institutions. And, I was living in Ohio in 2008, and we got hit by a hurricane. I know that's kind of a weird thing saying I'm in Ohio and I got hit by a hurricane, but it's true. In 2008, Hurricane Ike came through and knocked out power to the city in which I lived for a solid week. And I had two kids, and I went to McDonald's to get the last known food in town because they had the lights on, and there were grown men fighting over cheeseburgers. This was a week without power, folks. So if you can imagine the impact of our country with our power grid being shut down for any foreseeable time, it's scary. It's scary, and it's something that we certainly think about. This is what keeps us up at night, especially in the cybersecurity world. What if? I mean, we can do what we can do to try to bring systems back up and online, but what happens downstream? It's a scary thing to think about.
Brian, how, in your opinion, how easy would it be for the Russian government to infiltrate United States systems, comms, all these things that we've been talking about? Is this an easy thing for them to do, like realistically, or is this something extremely complicated? We would like to believe that the United States is more advanced and is more prepared and ready for something like this, but realistically, what are we looking at?
Well, I have the TV on next to me in my hotel room. I'm here at CPAC in Orlando, and I just caught the whim of the Russians attacking a power plant in Ukraine, in Kyiv. And it tells me that they didn't have the capability to shut that power plant off via code. So these are the things we're looking at, we're watching. Now, in regards to what are their capabilities to attack us, we typically don't talk about these things publicly, but we have a very robust, secure infrastructure in place. Now, some organizations, it's up to them and their cybersecurity teams to keep their organization, whether it's Microsoft or whatever. But the United States government, I mean, I think we've got a really good team of people within the cyber command and other areas. But at the end of the day, It's very hard to know until, the real question is how fast can we mitigate that exploit, that issue. So if we notice something go down, how fast can we get that back up? So we talk about continuity plans and things like this. So making sure that we keep things running or get them back up as soon as they go down. So really that's I would say we're really good at that in shutting down the attacker. But again, what are we willing to do as a response? And that's the great unknown, right? We don't know what that looks like in this era of the digital battlefield. And nor do we know what the government's willing to do. I mean, this administration, I'm not really sure what they're willing to do in that respect outside of talk about it. So I guess it's the great wait and see. Even from where I sit and what I do, I still, I don't know until we actually, are attacked or we decide to attack them and we're dealing with the fallout.
And with just about a couple minutes left here, Brian, we got to talk about our vulnerabilities when it comes to places like China and North Korea. Because if Russia feels empowered to do cyber attacks, I'm sure China and North Korea would just follow suit. What are our vulnerabilities right now when it comes to those countries?
Yeah, I mean, China, you've got a big issue with China. China has always been the issue as far as I'm concerned. Whether it's, they're always penetrating, they're always poking at our network, trying to find the weaknesses. And we know this. We've seen this in our election even. So this is it's the biggest concern that I have for the United States is China. It's not Russia. But I'm sure behind closed doors Putin and the Chinese Communist Party are discussing these things in their joint exercises. These joint exercises just aren't ships and tanks. These are cyber, organizations working within China and Russia, trying to figure out how they're going to attack us, not just here on planet Earth, out in space, with our satellites and our stuff floating around in outer space. So it's a grave concern, and I really hope and pray that this administration, when they invest money into our defense capabilities, think of our cyber capabilities just as important as an aircraft carrier. So, I really hope that that's what I know under the previous administration, it was taken very seriously and we were watching the walls constantly. But, I can't say that I've got the greatest confidence in this current administration.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, thank you for joining us. Enjoy your time the rest of your day. Thank you for hanging out with us. This is why it's important in America. This is exactly why it's important to have great leadership, strong leadership, wise leadership. We are seeing real modern warfare. We are in the future here where we are at the verge of World War III, and it's not just threats of nuclear war. It's not just threats of bombs falling from the sky. We are here in the age of advanced technology where you're not even seeing economic warfare anymore. Like here we are with cyber attacks. China is advanced. Obviously, Russia knows what they're doing. They've implemented this style of warfare.
And people freely give up information now too.
Exactly.
Just like they're just going to check that box, terms and conditions for sure. I'll give you anything. This app can track me. No worries. And I think people need to realize the effect of all those things.
Yeah. Absolutely. And here we are in the future America. When we come back after this break, we have Jack Posobiec to give us a update as well. So stay with us.
Do you like guns? Do you like ammo? Do you like suppressors? Do you like freedom? Do you love America? Do you like baseball? Do you like rifles? Do you like 9mm? Do you like pistols? Join me, Paige Rue, every week on Reloaded.
Good ranchers, straight from the American farm. 100% American meat, 100% of the time. Delivered straight to your door.
Wait, are those my Good Rancher steaks? I'll be taking these.
Claim your 10 free bistro fillets with your next order with promo code TPUSA Live at goodranchers.com.
America, we are back here with our special edition broadcast, the Ukraine-Russia invasion special. I'm here with the great Jon Root, host of TPUSA Live, producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, Connor Clegg, and the host of Freedom Papers, Morgan Zegers. So here we are. I wanted to kick off this segment with this story that we saw with Yahoo News, and I wanted to talk about this with you guys because this broke this morning. I know Jack was tweeting about it as well. And we're talking about intelligence. We're talking about the United States moving in with Russia and China. So this broke this morning, and it was that U.S. officials repeatedly urged China to help avert war in Ukraine. Now, here are the details, and this is just clown world. It's literally a joke. Over 3 months, senior President Biden administration officials held half a dozen urgent meetings with top Chinese officials in which the Americans presented intelligence showing Russia's troop buildup around Ukraine and beseeched the Chinese to tell Russia not to invade, Connor. They were begging them.
Wow. You're
Please, right? According to U.S. officials, each time the Chinese officials, including the foreign minister and the ambassador to the United States, rebuffed the Americans, saying they did not think an invasion was in the works. After one diplomatic exchange in December, U.S. officials got intelligence showing Beijing had shared the information with Moscow. What a shocker. What a freaking shocker. Telling the Russians that the United States was trying to sow discord and that China would not try to impede Russian plans and actions, the officials said.
I'm shocked.
I'm so shocked. But you know what's actually really frustrating about that is that for 4 years we had some of the best foreign policy we've ever seen in an American presidency. And then President Biden, when he was running, he ran on being this foreign policy expert based on all of his experience in the Senate, right? And it turns out that he was lying. There's another shocker for you, right? What an idiot you have to be to trust China, to go to China, and to try to use them as a resource, knowing that they are our grave mortal enemy. I mean, that just makes no sense at all, right? Can you make sense of that, John?
Well, he was the right-hand man to President Obama, and foreign policy during that administration was a disaster.
Total disaster.
You talked about a time where we weren't respected then, and you expect someone that even President Obama said, like, it's not going to be mind-blowing when Biden jumps in and he starts effing things up.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like,
Wasn't joking.
Don't be shocked at all. So I don't know why people think for some reason that President Biden's going to be able to speak to these foreign leaders and have some sort of weight to it. Mm-hmm. President Xi basically just lambasted him at the climate summit. Just like, oh, you're talking about me? Like, I don't even bother showing up to these things anymore. And I don't care what you say.
Well, I think as more of these situations happen, people start to wake up, and I'm glad to see that. But at the same time, like, these are the same people that tell us there's multiple genders when there's two. They can't agree on basic science anymore. Look at how they handled COVID. Look at how they handled Afghanistan. Look at how they want to educate our children about the founding of America. When you look at all of this, nothing they do makes sense anymore. Like, we're living in these crazy, crazy times where we can't agree on basic facts and then come and debate and find a solution. We aren't in those anymore. The other side looks completely foreign to us. And so then, when things get more serious, it's not just them talking about climate change and making up these problems. It's not just them talking about the 70 genders that they believe there are. Instead, we're talking about some really serious stuff. And that example today of the poem, you guys see that one? Of the
actress.
The 90210 actress. Like, that to me displays that they have a different way of thinking about the world. And it's not only with the smaller problems with gender and sexuality and all these more cultural things, but then when we get in serious problems, they carry their lunacy into handling those things too. And they cannot comprehend that it's time to shape up and actually have some reality and ground yourself to solve the problem. That's where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just going to get worse and worse.
It's like Joy Behar. We just have, like, I know we talk about The View so dang much here on TPUSA Live, but you have a war going on, and she's saying, well, I haven't been able to go to Italy in like 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, can you feel bad for me? I can't go on my sweet vacation. This is the way these people
They
think.
aren't grounded in reality. So then when something serious happens, they're still operating in their fun little political games of wokeness. And that's the biggest lesson that I've been seeing today, and this morning especially, is that comparison of our military ad versus Russia's military ad, and how wokeness is now a security issue, a national security issue. It makes perfect sense. We warned them about this, of course, but what do you know? We were right. And wokeness is dangerous.
And people that did not see that poem being read aloud by this actress from 90210, we have that clip ready for you.
You would have been so loved, held in the arms of joyous light, Never would the stories plight the world unfurled before our eyes, a pure demise of nations sitting peaceful under a night sky. If I was your mother, the world would have been warm. So much laughter and joy, and nothing would harm. I can't imagine the stain, the soul-stealing pain that the little boy you must have seen and believed, and the formulation of thought quickly taught that you lived in a cruel, unjust world. Is this why?
It's just the perfect representation of clown world, man. I mean, when you see this stuff happening, it's like, this is where your taxpayer money is going, right? You got to ask yourself, what is this administration doing? Who's involved with this? Because I think this can go both ways, right? Like, we could go two angles. Because a lot of people think that, you know, President Biden has ties with China. He's just a puppet to Xi Jinping, right? But then there's the other side. It's like, are they really this incompetent? Are they really this incompetent to, like, spoiler alert for people that don't know, you're not going to get away. You're not going to be successful trying to share intel with the CCP, thinking that they're not going to share that with Vladimir Putin. Spoiler alert, they're on the same team, okay? Yeah. They're literally on the same team. You're not going to be successful being diplomatic, and I'm not trying to be a warmonger. I'm just saying you can't possibly be this stupid.
You have to have common sense.
To think that you're going to be successful sharing your U.S. intelligence with the CCP, making friends and stopping Russia. Like, of course they're going to talk to each other.
Yeah. Well, this reminded me, remember when, so Dr. Fauci was being questioned by Senator Paul in one of the hearings, and Senator Paul was like, so did you give them funding for this specific situation? And he was like, well, no. And Dr. Fauci goes, they sent us the results of their findings, so we can see that they clearly didn't put any money of American taxpayer dollars to this research. And Senator Paul's like, so you're saying you just believe it because they handed you this piece of paper? Did you ever think they might have not just not put the findings on the document? Did you ever think about that? You're dealing with the communists of China. They have a bad reputation. But there's some connection. And then Dr. Fauci again, he said, this isn't about freedom to me. This is about health and security and those things. Yeah. So I just don't think they're operating on the same level as us when it comes to understanding how dangerous things can be. We've become very complacent.
Yeah, I mean, there once was a time whenever sharing military strategy and intel with the Communist Party of China would be considered treason, but now it's just kind of commonplace. And we're very numb to that these days, but that's because I think we have no national unity. We have no, common identity anymore, so it's impossible to recognize that we do have a common enemy in China. And if we don't shape up to that idea really quickly, we're all going to be speaking Mandarin very soon. I'm worried, right?
I think there's some people that are just empathetic to this, though, Connor, is when you hear like, oh, it's emergency, so we have to do this. Like, you've been hearing that for the past 2 years. And I think for some reason people are like, all right, well, I just put my freedoms to the side. Or if you have to talk to an enemy for a second, it's because it's an emergency. And a lot of people, I think, for some reason, they're empathetic to it.
But here's the most frustrating thing, right? Is that we have, for years, been told that Vladimir Putin is our mortal enemy, right? For so long. And so we can't talk to him. We can't be diplomatic with him. We can't negotiate with him, because if you do, then you're just Putin's puppet, right? So you have one standard here, but when it comes to China, that's all thrown out the window, and now we can try and back channel with communists? Here's the thing. Putin is much more of an asset to the United States to be friendly and diplomatic with, and also respect the fact that he's a thug and authoritarian, obviously, than Xi Jinping. Like, that's totally incomprehensible to me. But on another note, there was this really good video that I thought of that we showed on the Charlie Kirk show a while back during the Afghanistan debacle. And sadly, it is just as relevant today as it was back then. Can we throw to that video of Obama's Defense Secretary Robert Gates talking about Joe Biden?
And you said in your memoir, I think he's been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Would he be an effective commander-in-chief?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I stand by that statement.
I was rereading your memoir before we sat down to talk, and you said in your memoir, I think he's been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades.
Yeah, I mean, that's Obama's own Secretary of Defense. He served with Joe Biden, President Biden, or Vice President Biden at the time for years, and he doesn't have confidence in him. This was before the election, too, whenever this video came out and his memoir came out, and he put this warning out there, and millions and millions of Americans didn't listen to him, much to our great national peril, obviously.
Well, want to know what I was thinking of? The people that were so eager to replace the last president, the people that were so eager, whoever it was, they just wanted somebody new, and so they supported President Biden. We weren't around for the previous parts of American politics. This was really the first time our generations have gotten involved, or the last presidential cycle. And so we weren't around to see all of the gaffes of Biden that have been happening for 40 years. Like, he's run for president multiple times, and he had to stop, what was it, because of plagiarizing people's speeches and some really embarrassing stuff. The guy's been around for a long time, he's been failing for a long time, and most young people our age weren't even around to see it. So I think that was probably part of the big problem, where we had no idea that this guy was that bad, and we were able to just easily want to support him and replace President Trump.
Right. That's why it was so effective when they were marketing him as Sweet Uncle Joe.
Yeah,
because how would we know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
With hairy legs.
I think we got Jack Posobiec ready to go. Jack, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
Jack, I'm great, man. Dude, this is ridiculous. I know you tweeted this earlier this morning, too. This administration is sharing intelligence with the CCP, thinking they can get away with it. Is this being done on purpose, or are they really this stupid?
What they've done, what Biden and the people around him have done, really this neurotic millennial White House of West Wing LARPers have done, is they've completely underestimated Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. And they've completely also misjudged the relationship between the two by driving the two of them together, Russia and China, by our ridiculous and feckless foreign policy. You've created one of the largest dangers for the United States. I really do believe that it will go down in history as being one of the largest foreign policy blunders in world history, driving China and Russia together. Why would the United States do this? Why would leadership under Biden and previously under Obama do this? You split them up, you play them against each other. That's obviously the best American interest. I mean, that's what we need to be starting to think about now. What is in America's best interest? Because that's who we are, that is our country, that's who we have a responsibility to, our people and our families. But unfortunately, these idiots didn't understand that, and they shared our intelligence with China, who of course turned right around and shared it with the Russians. So that, and we'll never know, were they able to modify their plans? Were they able to change things up depending on what the US response is going to be? We won't know. But this idea that you have, remember, you still have this situation where our elites, whether it be the elites of the Democrats or the elites writ large in Hollywood, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, they have merged. They are in a merger now with the CCP, with the 1% of China. They're making so much money off of this relationship that they have essentially become subservient to them. I mean, becoming subservient to them, they're not thinking about American interests. The same way they weren't thinking about the interests of the Ukrainian people or the Taiwanese people when they pushed this ridiculous escalation.
Why do we tolerate leaders who don't give a damn about American interests, Jack? I mean, are the American people that apathetic to the idea of being a nation? Or are we just ignorant? Or what's the problem there? Because I don't think we should tolerate that.
Well, I think it's a really terrible situation. You know, you've got the people of Ukraine that are suffering. You've got the people in the United States that are under a government that is becoming increasingly more authoritarian. By the way, you just saw what happened in Canada, supposedly the Free West, when a couple of truckers wanted to come together and honk their horns because they didn't want biomedical mandates being pushed on them and pushed on their entire industry. And yet we're supposed to turn around and call the rest of the world thugs when you look at how we treat our own people. And Macron was doing this in Paris. By the way, we saw other countries doing this across Europe, Brussels, and yet we're going to turn around and say that we have the moral high ground. We don't have any of that. So we have to look at this situation from our perspective, and we have to understand what is actually in the interest of our people. And our interest of our people is not turning Ukraine into a money laundering operation for the Biden family and the Clinton Foundation. That's not in the interest of the American people, and it certainly isn't in the interest of the Ukrainian people.
I saw something else that just came across the radar here. Speaking of being in the interest of the American people, Jen Psaki at a press conference just said that we as the United States are open to welcoming Ukrainian refugees to the United States. Now, if you remember, there was a report that came out recently that said the Biden administration failed to use all available screening data to vet Afghan refugees, and they allowed at least 50 individuals who posed significant security concerns into the United States within our borders. The Ukrainians, as a culture, I think, are different than the Afghanistan culture and some of the Middle Eastern culture. But what are the implications of inviting more and more refugees into the United States every time there's a foreign conflict, Jack?
Fortunately, as you said, Ukraine is not Afghanistan, and there is actually a better option right now for the United States. And that is the fact that Poland, which of course shares a border, hundreds and thousands of years of shared history between Ukraine and Poland, and really the entire Slavic region, my family is Polish, of course, that Poland has opened their borders to Ukrainian refugees. Poland took in 2 million Ukrainian refugees during the 2014 war. They've opened their borders again. We're also getting reports that Poland is sending convoys of ammunition to the Ukrainian fighters that have stayed behind. Of course, we also know that Ukraine is banning any men of fighting age between 18 and 60 from leaving Ukraine. So these refugees, they are women, they are children that are coming out. This is a wartime refugee situation. And of course, in any one of those situations, this is a massive destabilization. I think that the United States is best served in dealing with the humanitarian area of this is in helping Poland to be able to deal with these people, to be able to build shelter, to have humanitarian aid, reach out, by the way, as well to religious organizations. Remember, these are Christians we're talking about. This is a Christian part of the world. They are the ones who are hurting right now. So go to the churches, go to work with those Christian aid organizations that were able to be so helpful in the Middle East during all the conflict there. Go to Poland. That is the place where it's much easier. Number one, obviously much easier to get them there, but also number two, it's much safer and it's going to be better in general to keep them at that place at the same time. And at the same time, that does serve, by the way, as a bulwark, because the United States can then send forces in as a means of defending, building that defensive NATO wall against further escalation and being able to contain this conflict.
That's right.
And then speaking of that too, I know we've seen some viral videos and viral photos of people praying out in the square, people singing praise and worship songs too, and it's been an incredibly powerful moment for a lot of people that have been trying to follow what's going on. But my question for you, Jack, is it seems like this administration's shot themselves in the foot when it comes to staying green and this whole climate change debate and debacle, that they're just willing not to show some real force and some real strength because they want to make sure. There are even news coming out that says that the State Department spokesperson pledges U.S. will continue to work with Russia in areas of key interest, including things like a nuclear deal and Kerry's climate change comments that he's made. They're doubling down on that. What do you think?
I mean, you look at this stuff and it's completely ridiculous. You know, it's what I said in my opening comments here. You have neurotic millennials running this White House. They are still putting things like climate change at a higher priority than things like war and peace. You don't have to read all of Tolstoy to understand what's going on in that part of the world right now. We can see it with our own eyes. Maybe you should have paid a little more attention to the Eastern European mindset and understanding what happens in that part of the world and the history of that part of the world. But instead, we are pursuing these ridiculous ideas that, like spending plans and taxation plans, they're going to somehow change the climate, that if you give more money and more power to the government, like that's actually going to do anything. Look, the essentials of this situation are because we put such an over-reliance on renewables and the fact that we outsourced our energy policy to an 18-year-old girl named Greta Thunberg from Sweden, who said that we're not allowed to have fossil fuels and that we're not allowed to have coal and that we're not allowed to have nuclear, by the way, that we became completely reliant on places like OPEC, the Saudis, and the Russians, who are not our friends, to be in charge of the world energy supply. You gave this to them. You built this world. They are the ones who are now exploiting it.
Well, here, let's cue up video 13. I want to get your reaction to this. This is President Biden commenting on China being him questioned. Let's hear that.
And are you, if I could follow up, sir, are you urging China to help isolate Russia? Are you urging China to help isolate Russia?
I'm not prepared to comment on that at the moment.
You know, Jack, he's asked this question in front of the world, and he says, I'm not prepared to comment, shrugs his shoulders, puts his head down. The body language is not looking good. What's your reaction to that, Jack?
Look, that was probably the most important 14 seconds of the entire situation, because we understand that this invasion, right, this escalation, and Putin, of course, he had multiple options. He chose war. He chose aggression. He chose invasion. He chose bloodshed, right? That was a choice. But when he made that choice, I guarantee you the first person that he talked to, once he and his generals made all of this conversation, made their strategic decisions, they talked to Xi Jinping. And they said, if we're cut out of the SWIFT program, will we be brought on with One Belt, One Road? Can we build a new parallel financial infrastructure to be able to keep Russia running? And Xi Jinping and the Chinese and the CCP are underwriting this entire thing. The regime there in China is clearly in league with Russia in all of this. And I said it from the get. Driving them together was a massive foreign policy blunder. And so when they're asked the very obvious question that you, sir, at this late date, at the 11th hour, do you understand that what you should have been doing all along was working to drive China and Russia apart? He can't even answer the question. And it really goes to show you that all of those emails that we saw on that laptop with Hunter Biden talking about the financial deals and the money that his son and his own family was making from Ukraine, the oligarchs there, the regime, and the money that they were making out of China seems to have somehow infiltrated the actual strategic decision-making process of the United States of America.
That's exactly right, Jack. And thank you so much for being a voice of clarity on that, because it's such an important topic that people don't realize. I wanted to show you one more video before we go at the end of the segment. Snake Island. This is something that's been popping up all over social media. It's really, I think they're going to make movies about this someday. But we had you on the Charlie Kirk show earlier, and you did a really phenomenal job of storytelling and filibustering whenever our feed went down. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about video 14. Can we play that? And then, Jack, tell us your thoughts about these Ukrainians who really gave a middle finger to the Russian warship out there on Snake Island. Let's go 14.
Москва. 200 метров. Ракетный катер. Россия. Вот так вот мы тут и живем, блядь, на острове Змеином.
So I think what he said was to go F yourself to the Russian warship, right? Is that right, Jack?
Yes. From that area, I understand a little bit of Ukrainian, and that's essentially he's telling them to F off. Knowing, by the way, full well the might and firepower of the bombardment from that warship was about to come down on him and his men. What you're seeing there are martyrs, but also patriots who are standing up and they're fighting tooth and nail for their land. Looking at that as an American, as someone who understands that this country, yes, we have our Declaration of Independence, and that was the formal document that was signed. But America did not actually attain independence through just that document alone. It was through bloodshed, it was through tears, it was through war, and it was through fighting for your land. And that's what you see right there. You see that type of inspiration, and you see that type of heroism. And you're seeing heroism from all across Ukraine right now. People taking up arms, fighting for their land. And now we don't know what the outcome is going to be yet. We don't know. We hope it's peaceful. We hope there's a ceasefire. We hope there's a resolution. But you really have to hand it to the people and the noble patriots who are fighting for their land, who are literally fighting for their independence.
Jack, you got a tweet blowing up right now. You tweeted earlier that a group of open source intelligence researchers have taken to Tinder to speak with Russian soldiers and separatists to gain intelligence posing as women. The crazy world of social media that during a war, soldiers are on Tinder giving away information about their units and locations and hope to get laid.
Swipe right.
I think this was a repost, but those weren't your words, Jack. But you reposted this little clip here. Tell us more, man. You got this tweet blowing up right now.
Look, they say the pen is mightier than the sword, but there may be one thing that's even mightier than that, and that is the thirst. The thirst to be young. Well, look, this is actually something that happened in the 2014 war in Crimea, or the annexation of Crimea, as you could say. that there were a lot of these Tinder matchings, and there were lots of tabloid write-ups of it, Instagram posts, etc. And now, so you're actually looking at people who are going outside of the box, thinking about how can we reach out, find out what's actually going on. Now, in terms of this, of course, we have UAVs, we have surveillance, we have drones. So finding the positions isn't as hard as it once was. But at the same time, you really have to hand it to people that are getting in this fight, that are trying to do the right thing, and just the sheer. I think we can all kind of understand what it must be like to be in there to try to figure out when you're under the gun, you have to fight for your country, you have to fight for your home. But understand that sometimes you have to do what it takes. And in this case, I really admire the ingenuity of the people that are doing this.
It's incredible. It's like James O'Keefe, Project Veritas stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he uses the dating apps, which I always find fascinating. Jack, so I have one question. It's more of a lady question regarding this. And I really admire the fact that you always talk about culture and tradition and protecting where you live. Do you think anybody in America, all these young millennials and Gen Zers, are going to learn something maybe about what it means for men to take on their traditional masculine role? And sometimes that means getting bloody, making sacrifices, getting violent. And then women, the women of Ukraine right now are put through their own tests, their own protecting of their kids and everything else with their own communities. I mean, I always love the story of Winston Churchill and Clementine Churchill. When he was out on the battlefield, when he was out leading the troops, she was on the domestic front helping the women and the children who were getting bombed in London. So what do you think that's going to teach, especially young Americans that take what we have for granted and try and distort gender roles?
Look, I think that this whole situation, writ large, we have this movement in the West to deny history, to deny reality, to say that you can A can become B, B can become A, that we can just, all these things are social constructs. Look, you can try to deny reality all you want. You can lie to yourself, but reality is still there. The real world is still there. These things do not change. Human nature does not change. It is immutable. Family values do not change. You cannot try to impose your will on nature itself. This is the natural world. This is the natural order. And so you have to face it, and you have to confront it, and you have to deal with it. But the one thing that you cannot do is deny it. And that's what's been going on. And so I really hope that as people are taking a look at this, and they're looking at the men that are out there fighting for their land, they're fighting for their phones, they're fighting for their families, that they are the ones taking up arms, and really understand that maybe some of the the fights and the divisions and the things that we get angry about here in the West, where we're protected by these two amazing oceans that we have. There's a reason that so many of our family, in the past came to this land so that we could be safe, but also to understand that that doesn't change the real world. This is reality, not your fantasy land.
And then too, we were just playing this on the screen right now, Jack, is you have a Russian military ad that obviously looks unbelievably badass and actually puts chills down your spine. And then you now have this video that we're showing you all about pronouns and genders, and it's all about that's literally, she's saying, I have two moms. Two moms here, and then I went through college, I went to UC Davis, and it's all about how I am so part of this progressive movement, and then I wanted to make it different, so I joined the Army. It's telling you this 2-minute story of absolute nonsense and identity politics, and then on the other side, you're actually instilling fear. I mean, this is absolute nonsense, and this is exactly why people like President Xi aren't listening to us at all.
Look, I think George Washington said it best, the best way to have peace, to achieve peace, is to prepare for war. Look, you need peace through strength in the United States, whether that be the military, whether it be our infrastructure, whether it be our manufacturing base, right? I think we all understand now, in this 11th hour, why it is exactly that our manufacturing base, our steel base, is a national security concern. Our pharmaceutical base, our PPE base, right? We learned that through the pandemic. We need to bring these industries back home, and at the same time that we're making America strong, the homeland strong, you have to have a military that is prepared to defend our homeland. This is our land. We live here. We are the ones who are trying to have our families here. We don't raise our families. I'm trying to raise my family here. We've got our kids. We want to keep them safe, and the best way to do that is to have the strongest possible national defense as we can. Period, first and foremost. That is the point of the military.
Well, Jack, I know you've been a hot item over the last few days, so we really appreciate you spending some time. Have fun at the rest of CPAC over there. We really appreciate what you have to say about this situation. Like Connor said, it's so clarifying for so many people, so thank you.
God bless, guys. Take care.
All right, guys, we're going to be right back. We're going to answer some of your questions that you asked us on Instagram through Turning Point USA's Instagram account and so much more. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
TPUSA Live is about to be spicy. I mean, would you expect anything less? It's me, Alex Clark. Of course it's going to be spicy. Tune into The Spillover, my brand new podcast. Think of it like the older sister to politics with a lot more conservative.
What's up, guys? My name is Jon Root, and every week I'm breaking down the top stories in sports and bringing you conversations you won't hear anywhere else. It's going to be a great time here on Breaking. Welcome back to TPUSA Live. This is our Russia-Ukraine special, and we got a new guest here, Anthony Watson. Welcome, TPUSA Ambassador, also a former Olympian. Thanks so much for being here. Morgan Zegers, Connor Clegg, we got Drew Hernandez, and I'm Jon Root. First off, I want to hear from you, Anthony. Obviously, there's been a lot of information out here, and we covered on the show yesterday how this is affecting everyday Americans as well. Obviously, we have all the Ukrainians in our thoughts and our prayers. There's protests all over the place, whether in Ukraine or Russia. But people want to know, how does this affect them? So what has it been like for you?
For me personally, this hits a little bit closer to home just because I have personal friends that I've actually sat down like this with that are currently back home in Ukraine, going through all of this. But what I know to be the truth is that people don't realize here that how things happen over there, this is just people now playing for more control, so that there could be possibilities, God willing, hopefully not, that through more control and the rise and the growing of stronger military and militia, that could be something that we now have to fight off in the future. So people don't realize by us taking a stand for people to fight for their freedom, it actually keeps us more free here. And you see it now, everyone that doesn't want to talk about guns or everything else, now we're actually supporting everybody that actually has a gun right now in the city of Kiev and stuff. And so seeing everything that's happening, it's heartbreaking. And you look at that, and the thing that I think everyone needs to now focus on more is learning how the way things work, so that you can see the bigger effects, which is why we fight for a free America every day.
Anthony, we got some breaking news here. I think this may have happened a few moments ago, not sure what time, but apparently the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, has had a back and forth with her old sparring partner, Peter Doocy of Fox News again, asked her what exactly President Biden has done that has worked to stop Vladimir Putin. Doocy also asked whether the people of Ukraine have a month to see the results of the sanctions. And her response, he was alluding to President Biden's remark on Thursday about U.S. sanctions. Let's have a conversation in another month or so to see if they're working. Psaki told Doocy, well, Peter, let me take a step back and explain to everyone how diplomacy works. What the president has done is build a global coalition in the face of President Putin and President Putin's aggression and invasion of Ukraine, she added. Psaki said President Biden had rallied the world and European partners, even at a cost to them, to place significant sanctions that she said would have an enormous impact on the Russian financial sector. So it looks like they're really relying on sanctions. And I know, Connor, it's like, we don't want to go to war, dude. We don't want America to go to war. But Anthony, you said you have family back there? Or
I got friends back there. I got friends that I competed in the Olympics with. I've got personal friends that have been back and forth. I grew up in a town that had a really large Slavic community where a lot of them immigrated from Ukraine and came there.
Yeah. And, so have you heard anything from anyone back that, do they have time to wait a month? How do people feel about that?
I mean, when you look at something like this, when you're getting invaded like that, first of all, Jen Psaki, she needs another job. I mean, like, I wouldn't trust her with my Starbucks order, let alone with diplomacy things. You know, people like this have been hiding for so long. They don't tell the truth. And then now when you actually have a crisis literally right here, nobody has any answers to give because they've been lying about everything. What I do know to be the truth is that when you have missiles literally fired in your home country, everyone wants to get out. Everyone right now is in panic and they're looking to the government to do something. And right now, Ukraine really has no answer because of what Russia's been doing this entire time. When our former president Donald Trump was in there, Russia literally was back at home. And slowly but surely, they've been creeping closer and closer and closer, pushing limits, seeing what they can get away with. It's kind of like having a child that, you know, like doesn't touch an object that the parent tells them not to, but they get close until they actually get burned by it. And now you're starting to see the results of neglect and the results of like carelessness. And so I actually have a friend that is was headed to Ukraine, has been there for almost the past decade, you know, with journalism and everything else right now, who was like literally, I was talking to him yesterday. He was like, dude, I'm about to just like find a gun and like take up arms in Kiev. I was like, oh. But he couldn't make it there. He was supposed to fly, then got rerouted, and now he's in Germany waiting to go back to see if he can get in to go report on it more.
Wow. Yeah, Jen Psaki doesn't know anything about diplomacy. She wouldn't know anything about diplomacy if it slapped her in the face, which something should.
Yeah, and that old picture of her, I tweeted it last night with the commie hat on, did not age well at all.
Yeah. I was like, but it suited her well, Miss Peppermint Patty.
Now, but someone that does know something about diplomacy and has some ties with some people in the Ukrainian government is Matthew Tymerend. So he's going to start joining us here. He's an American journalist with some Polish roots, and he works closely with Project Veritas. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here with you guys. I'm in East Germany, which is an interesting place. I got fake plants behind me. Nice backdrop.
It's beautiful. You look like Zach Galifianakis between two ferns.
Between two ferns.
I'm a little bit more svelte, thank God.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the work that you're doing over there in Eastern Europe and how you're kind of covering this region? What's going on?
I mean, it's a pretty crazy situation. It's not one totally unexpected. I live part-time in Poland, and the Polish government has been building up their military for the better part of 10 years. After 2014, when the Russian separatists and the Little Green Men, euphemistically, took Donbass initially, the Polish government saw that as the canary in the coal mine, and they knew that Putin was going to sort of double down on his revanchism. Revanchism is the concept of rebuilding a former empire. And Putin has been saying his entire public life that the greatest tragedy that has befallen contemporary geopolitics has been the breakup of the Soviet Union. So I'm of the belief that when somebody tells you who they are and what they want to do, believe them. And he has, in two periods in the last 15 years, tried to continue building back the Soviet Union. In 2008, in Georgia, he invaded South Georgia and Ossetia, and it was the Polish president at the time, Lech Kaczynski, who beat him back, who drew international attention to it. And with George W. Bush and NATO and the UN, they pushed him back on it. And Lech Kaczynski was later killed in a plane crash in Russia, which many on the Polish right believe was not coincidental to that previous fact. He was a thorn in the side of Putin, the Poles having been on the receiving end of the worst parts of Sovietism for 50 years. Have very little trust and faith in the bon ami of their Slavic neighbors to the east.
Yeah, speaking of NATO, we know that the NATO Security General, made this comment earlier in a direct address to the world, that the world will hold Russia accountable for its actions. This is World War III talk. We know that could be economic, we know that could be cyber, that could be many different things, but at the end of the day, it's looking like there's some comments being made where this could go in that direction. You mentioned NATO, you mentioned what's happening in Europe. What's your reaction when you hear NATO come out and say things like that?
NATO is, I hate to say it, it's sad to say, but NATO is a joke of an institution. Jens Stoltenberg, the head of NATO, is a few years away from picking up a nice sinecure with the Atlantic Council or SEPA or SAIS at Johns Hopkins. These are total technocratic transatlanticist elites who haven't really been involved in any real kinetic warfare. NATO was built simply as a check on Soviet aggression during the Cold War. Post 1989 and 1990, when the Berlin Wall fell, when the Soviet Union broke up into its constituent 15 member states, it's been rudderless. And now it exists to just try and dole out military contracts to the complex that we talk about on the right in America all the time. It hasn't really had to face off against anything. It's based in Brussels. President Trump made a great point when he visited their new billion-dollar headquarters, and he said, this is a really nice building, but can it withstand a missile attack? And they were stupefied by such a question because they're technocratic elite in Brussels, and they haven't had to deal with what it is their raison d'etre, their reason for being. So NATO is quite a paper tiger, much like the EU. The EU is broken up into different constituencies that have their own rational self-interests, but they talk about strengthening NATO. When Trump came into the presidency, 5 of 28 member nations were paying the statutory minimum 2% of GDP toward military defense. Those nations included, obviously, the U.S., which 2% of U.S. GDP is bigger than 100% of the GDP of most of those 28 nations. The UK was paying 2%. Poland, which is the largest peripheral border on NATO and rather leery of their neighbors to the east, or Russia, was paying, and they've continued to ratchet that up in the last 5 years from 2 to 2.5 and going toward 3% in 2030. And then the other two were Greece and Estonia. As you might imagine, the contribution of Greece and Estonia on 2% of their GDP is not all that material. And what is contributed in that 2% is military armaments with no real statutory requirement that they be modern or even functional. Greek contributions are most likely planes from the 1970s. Estonia is not a very big economy, despite the success of Skype and venture capital. But when Trump came in on the in the GOP convention in Cleveland, I was there and I was doing TV with Polish television, which I contribute to for many years. And Trump said, well, we're going to have to reevaluate our commitment to NATO because there's so many free riders. And the entire Eastern and Central European press in Germany and France, they were apoplectic. What is he doing? He's threatening that he will not pay. He will not allow us to free ride on that collective security guarantee. But it was a brilliant tactical move because within a year of him assuming the presidency, you now had 8 member nations paying the 2%, and NATO was strengthened. To what effect? They weren't challenged. We never saw. This is really the first challenge they faced. And not surprisingly, that guy you're showing on the screen, Jens Stoltenberg, and the rest of these technocratic elites who take advice from defense ministers who mostly are middle-aged women who've never taken a judo class, let alone studied advanced weapon systems. They're much more interested in LGBTQI transgender bathroom, policy. And this is Scandinavia, this is Germany, this is France. These are navel-gazing elite, globalist elite of the worst cartoonish structure that we all know because we watch what these people do. Well, this is the first time they're being challenged, and they don't have much to contribute to pushing back the Russian bear in its greatest move in breaching a neighbor sovereign border. I mean, this is, again, I think it's an accurate analogy that the closest this situation is 1939. And we had a lot of Neville Chamberlains in 1939, and unfortunately, we have a lot of them on the right today, and obviously on the left, they want to wag the dog to cover up the incompetence and the debacle that is the first year of the Biden presidency, or into the second year, between inflation and COVID policy and parents, even leftist parents, angry at school boards. These people just want to shift the news narrative, and it's also in the UK. Boris Johnson is underwater as well. His polling numbers have rolled over in a big way because he was caught like an American leftist, Garcetti or Newsom, being quite hypocritical, throwing parties at 10 Downing Street while enforcing COVID mandates, masking, and debating mandatory vax and forced compliance. And the people said enough's enough. I was in London 3 days ago, and all of a sudden, there is no masks.
Yeah.
Everybody is just totally let go of it because they know that on the sort of federal executive level under the prime minister, that he's not going to push it because now he's got his own sort of domestic under fire problem.
As they should have. They should have let go of it a long time ago. I want to make sure everyone saw that we had on the screen while Matt was talking earlier. Can you put back up that gay flag? Look at this. So we talked about
that is
NATO.
not politically correct. Okay.
Yeah, it's not, excuse me, it's
Yeah,
not
there it
gay,
is.
it's LGBTQIAA.
Alphabet people,
Yeah.
pride flag.
Yeah.
This is what NATO spends their money on. If I was a Ukrainian, I'd be pissed.
That
Right?
is definitely going to scare Vladimir Putin.
Oh, he's shaking in his boots, right?
That's going to put an end to everything.
And then we were playing this other video, Diversity is Our Strength, that NATO put out. And I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, NATO is supposed to be an alliance of like-minded, similarly heritaged countries. I have a hard time believing them when they say diversity is our strength, because that kind of goes against the whole mission. But Morgan, did you have a question for Matt?
Oh, I mean, Matt, one of my favorite books is still your dad's, The Diary 1954, and I'm pretty curious because I read that a few years ago. Now, how is it to be in the middle of this conflict where you are right now and be able to look at his experience and now yours? Did you imagine that you'd be put through this?
I mean, I've been going back to Poland for the better part of a dozen years and been in Ukraine a dozen times, been in Lviv, been in Kiev, worked on corruption investigations, worked on the Burisma investigation. So I know how corrupt it is, but I also know that the Ukrainian people since 1989 and 1990 have yearned for their own country, their sovereignty, much like every Warsaw Pact country, every Soviet Union constituent state, the Yugoslav republics. They were all under the Soviet jackboot post-Yalta. And going to Ukraine, getting to know these people, when I hear the American right, and that includes, and I'm really annoyed about this, Tucker Carlson, who is out Buchananing Pat Buchanan on non-interventionism, ignoring the realpolitik of the potential domino effects, much like Neville Chamberlain did in 1938, 1939. It really kind of annoys me because, Ukraine falls in full. That's 48 million people. It's one of the largest constituent parts of the former USSR. What would happen is then he would make the play for Georgia, Moldova, Belarus. He already has his satellite. All of a sudden, within a 24 or 36 month period, you'd have a good chunk of the Soviet Union back. It wouldn't be tough for him to get the Asian republics back because they are kind of satellite proxies for him already. Right. And all of a sudden, we have let back in the 20th century's biggest global security threat to become the 21st century's biggest global security threat. And it's not coincidental. Vladimir Putin went and visited Xi Jinping 3 weeks ago in Beijing, basically to get buy-in on this, which then suggests Xi Jinping is thinking about making a move on Taiwan, which will send the globe into a deep, deep recession. 40 to 50% of all global semiconductors and chips are made in Taiwan. The auto industry, laptops will spike from $1,000 to $15,000. I don't have the exact number. It's hypothetical, but it's something along those lines. And we are allowing this to happen because we have a bunch of feckless idiots who like to talk a big game. Right now, all the European Union nations are really showing their support. They're painting their Capitol buildings with spotlights in blue and yellow. Right. Well, that's not going to save the Ukrainian people. Putin is playing I give him credit. I mean, he's a KGB operative. He's caustic, but he's smart. And he is playing a very, very smart chess game. If you want to get into the minutia, he wants Crimean land bridge. He wants Mariupol. He wants the entire region that connects Crimea with Rostov-on-Don and Krasnodar, because that is an incredibly strategic region.
As we're wrapping up here, too, can you just let people know where they can follow you at? We're going to start wrapping up the show here, but I think you got some great information that people should be following. Where can they follow you?
Sure. So Matthew Tyrmand, MATTHEW, on Getter, on Twitter. I keep getting suspended on Twitter, so it's been a lot more Getter. I've been co-hosting War Room with Bannon and been on a lot discussing these things, again, really deep into the weeds and calling him out for some of his laissez-faire policies leading into this, or philosophies leading into this. I think he's having his come to Jesus moment, realizing the domino effect that could come into play here. So this is going to be a big story for the next several weeks. I do think that Putin will get concessions and will back off. He doesn't want to take
Matthew,
over all
I think we're going to start wrapping up here a little bit, but we definitely appreciate you jumping on and joining us. And be sure to follow Matthew and keeping up with everything that's going on over there. Thank you.
Morgan's still laughing about the gay flag.
Yeah, she can't get
I
over
couldn't
it.
tell if you were laughing or
sorry.
sneezing.
A little bit of both.
Sorry.
Well, something I think, obviously, we've gotten a lot of questions on our Instagram account, and a lot of people just want to know what's actually going on here. Obviously, that's why we bring people on that are either out there, or we got people like Jack Posobiec that has connections out there, people with inside information. But we got to talk about how the left has just gone absolutely insane.
They have?
Which is nuts, right? It's crazy. You wouldn't expect it at all. But you have obviously late night TV show hosts that are unbelievably leftist. So you had people like Jimmy Kimmel. He blasted President Trump for claiming that this would have never happened and that he would have stopped Putin's Ukraine invasion. And this is what he had to say on the show. It takes a special kind of son of a bee to see people fleeing from their homes and think, how can I make this about me? It's true. Like, he's telling the truth that this would not have happened. And I know we covered it yesterday, and we're talking about it now, that was real strength. We had people that it's just a continuation of the Obama administration. It's a disaster foreign policy-wise. People didn't trust him before he even got in the White House. And now you have leftists like Jimmy Kimmel that are trying to say, I can't believe Trump is so narcissistic, it's going to be about him.
He's a total schmuck. If you want to know what real comedy is, we should look to President Trump. There was this really great story that came out in the New York Post the other day. And this is in response to a question from Jacqueline out of Minnesota. Jacqueline was saying, what is peace through strength? I keep hearing that term, but I don't really understand what it means. I wasn't alive during the 80s, obviously. She said she's in 6th grade. And there was this really great story from Trump that was published on President's Day, and I want to read it, a line from it that just made me chuckle a lot. So Morgan, be careful. All right. So Trump said, reportedly in a call with Vladimir Putin, he said, if you move against Ukraine while I'm president, Trump is said to have told the Russian leader, I will hit Moscow. Putin reportedly scoffed, no way, leading Trump to say, all those beautiful golden turrets will be blown up. And then during that same visit, Trump reportedly told Xi that any military move against Taiwan would be met with an attack on Beijing. Xi, like Putin, is said to have been stunned. However, and this is what got me, it's possible neither man believed Trump was serious, but it's also possible that both accounts are exaggerated. But it is a fact that neither man made the moves Trump is said to have warned against, because at the end of the day, the guy was crazy enough to do it, right? I mean, that's the kind of strength that we need back in office. So, I mean, that's what peace through strength looks like, Jacqueline, just to kind of answer your question.
It's the equivalent to a bullying someone and then a bigger guy saying, hit me.
Yeah, I dare you, right? And here's the thing. I believe he would probably do it. And would that cause global war? Maybe, who knows? But what it did that we do know is that it caused global peace for 4 years, right? So whenever we have weakness in the White House, when we have these trans people running around, and the gay flags flying over embassies in Afghanistan until the Taliban takes over, then yeah, people are not going to take us seriously. And we fail to reiterate that point very often.
Well, they tried to call him bully when he was actually a leader. And that's the way they tried framing that as, Putin's a bully too, and so is President Trump. And then that's why they tried to just market it that way. And it was effective for a lot of people. But it's like, no, this was real leadership. This is someone that says, just like you said, you mess with me, I'm going to punch you in the mouth.
That's what's so interesting. Did you see Trudeau? He put out a statement of this is unacceptable behavior from a tyrant in Russia. And how he behaves is more aligned with Putin than how Trump ever behaved. And so it's just really crazy to see how they try and justify their actions, and they can't see how tyrannical their mandates and their ways of force really are onto people. So it's really, really sad, but I think it all goes back to this basic understanding or lack of understanding of average citizens. If we better understood, we'd be in a better position.
Speaking of understanding, I wanted to get your take on this, because we keep hearing a lot of commentators are coming out saying this is the closest to 1939 we've seen in a long time. We're hearing this kind of going back to history, repeating itself. And one of the questions we got was, will this be World War III? Have you seen any similarities? If you look back in history to World War II to where we're seeing now with things developing and going in that direction. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It doesn't have to be World War III. It does not have to be. My first approach, I mean, Connor comes on Freedom Papers a lot, and we look at the founding of America. One of the big lessons was that the British at the time had very weak leadership. And so they totally could have just smashed us. We totally could have lost the Revolutionary War. But it was one of America's greatest generations going up against one of Britain's weakest and worst generations in terms of military and political leadership. And that really decided the fate of where we are today. And so I think we have a very weak generation of leadership in America going up against maybe some of those countries in Russia, of China, some of their strongest leadership. I mean, Putin's a strong leader. So that's really concerning to me in that aspect of, I don't know if you guys remember this, I give public education one good, pat on the back. And it's the fact that they passed down one lesson that I still remember in history class, failed in many other ways, but one of the lessons was that we appeased Nazi Germany. We saw this bad behavior and we did nothing. We allowed it to happen. We had the Olympics in Nazi Germany. We sent our athletes over there. There was all these problems that were happening and we still appeased it. Well, what do you know? We just had the Olympics in communist China. We're appeasing them in so many ways. And so it's those little actions of weak leadership. Those little actions of weak leadership that really do make me concerned. And then on top of that, you have weak political leadership in America. I think what's different, though, what makes me more concerned moving into this is the improvement in technology, like we were talking about with the grid and everything, and the ignorance of average Americans. I think 100 years ago, we were more capable, we were not as ignorant as we are now, and we had a greater understanding of what we were fighting for. Today we have at least two generations that were shoved through the American public education system and barely respect America's founding and what we stand for. We don't have that national identity that Connor talks about. So sorry for ranting, but I see all these different categories and it's like, okay, it doesn't have to be this bad, but it could be really bad.
Right. Yeah. And to wrap the show, I think we would be remiss to not ask the resident Olympian at the table.
Yeah.
Jon Root, no, Anthony Watson. What were your thoughts about the way that we handled the Beijing Olympics?
Well, I mean, because I had trained for so long, I was still pursuing the Olympics. I'm pretty sure y'all would have a different feeling about me had I actually gone. I would hope you would be proud of me, but no. It was actually my parents that sat me down and they said, you don't need to be there. They said, with everything happening in the world and how people are treating, their people right now, my dad was adamant. He was just like, I don't think it's safe for you to go. And 2 years out of the Olympics, before getting canceled, I was like, maybe it's not a good idea. Then maybe canceling was like the answer. And then when I saw everything that was happening in China, it was basically like a mask. Like you see what the media does here. There's a problem happening in Ukraine right now that everyone's focusing on, but still Joe Biden just appointed some buckwheat little, social justice warrior to be another Supreme Court nominee, And so I honestly have mixed feelings because of the people that I know personally. Right. But I do know that a lot of people that went were too invested to not go. I mean, myself, personally, it's just I'm too convicted in what I believe to be told something different. So, for the people that said no, I was like, I support them. For the people that went, I was like, could you have done something a little bit better? I was like, I absolutely agree, because I said participating in something like that also kind of makes it seem like you approve of what the country does, and I couldn't do it. So
good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Well, I can definitely appreciate that very much. And shameless plug, actually, I'm going to be talking to an Associate Press reporter that was out there at the Beijing Olympics. That's going to be coming out on Sunday, the Breakaway podcast there. And because everything that people had to go through, and we had defectors and people, I think we're all in the same boat, where it's like, if you give up a U.S. citizenship, I know you had so you knew some of those people, but I think it's
I
just,
did.
you give
But my thoughts are the same with everybody here. Because you have personal relationship with people, it's like you kind of want to be empathetic, but at the end of the day, it's just like we're adults, and it's just like I'm somebody that will always preach to everybody. It's just like you got to live with the decision that you made, and it's just like now that you've sold out, the Olympics were a peaceful 2 weeks of competition that the world didn't watch, and I was like, now that you forfeited your citizenship, enjoy China.
Well, yeah, I would like to know where that Dutch reporter and that Chinese cross-country skier are right now, too, but I don't think we're going to get answers for that. But we definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been a great few days here, obviously giving you as much information as humanly possible, because I know, Drew, that's something you bring up. There's dis and misinformation all over the place, but thankful to have people that zoomed in and people right here behind this desk giving you the right info. But it's been a great show. Anthony, Morgan, Connor, Drew, I am John. We will see you guys on Monday.
All right, guys, you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. You know, I think I forgot to mention this yesterday, but we're actually down here. We're recording live and broadcasting from CPAC down in Orlando, Florida. We had pre-scheduled to be here. We didn't know that a war was going to be breaking out, obviously, but as they say, you know, may you live in interesting times, and we certainly do live in interesting times. So here we are at CPAC, reporting on the war in Ukraine. Russia launched this war against Ukraine as NATO was moving in, didn't want Ukraine to join NATO, didn't want those forces, didn't want the missiles, the javelins, the arming of the army, saw it as a threat. And now we have the response. Now we have Putin's response. It wasn't diplomatic, it wasn't negotiations, it wasn't talks. They have been met now with force. But more than that is going on, and we're going to break into that. All this and more ahead, Human Events Daily. So in terms of updates, I'll give you what I know. Obviously, there's a lot of fog of war going on right now, literal fog of war. There's disinformation, there's false videos, there's videos being sent from video games that are being shared across social media. And I said this yesterday on Turning Point Live, and I'll say it again here, that be careful what you see on social media. Be careful about these videos. There's one video going around supposedly of a dogfight between a Ukrainian fighter and a Russian fighter over Kiev. Turns out that video actually comes from a video game. And that was something that someone created and then made to look as if it was from the actual fighting. So understand, because our computer graphics are so good right now, you don't quite know if what you're seeing is something that actually happened or something that someone created. A good rule of thumb that I use, though, is if you're seeing something when it comes to if there's multiple angles, if there's multiple videos of one incident, that does add to the credibility of it. But just keep that in mind. Before, think before you share. I understand that it's very emotional, and here it is. You are going to see brutality come out of this. Make no mistake, that brutality is on the hands of Vladimir Putin and the Russians who instigated this conflict. But at the same time, we're not going to lie about the people who brought us here. We're not going to lie about the involvement of the Biden family. We're not going to lie about the involvement of the Clinton family and the Clinton Foundation. We're not going to lie about the warmongers and the neoliberal, neoconservative elites in this country, in the United States, that have sought to expand America's military alliance and expand America's military footprint around the world. Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, these things happened. And these things were done in the interest and in the name of the United States. We had a system of unipolarity. What does that mean? Sure, there are other countries in the world that U.S. did business with, but the U.S. was essentially, and I do mean was, essentially a global hegemon. We were a global superpower. Cold War ended, U.S. was the only superpower left. And you had this idea of something called Pax Americana, the peace of America. Well, that's done now. America has grown weak. America has grown soft. Our leaders have grown weaker. Our leaders have grown softer. And our economic ties to other countries who are not our friends, like what we did with outsourcing our entire manufacturing base, our entire manufacturing infrastructure to China and other parts of the world, is now coming back to bite us. Do you now understand why your manufacturing base is a national security concern? Are you paying attention yet? Do you get it now? I think a lot of people get it now. I'm not going to beat that point home. After the pandemic, where we couldn't make our own pharmaceuticals and make our own PPE, after we're now seeing warfare, when our steel industry, our aluminum, is dependent on other countries. And by the way, fossil fuels, the idea that we have not pursued nuclear power, but we have pursued these green energy, renewables, solar power, it was always a fantasy. It wasn't going to work. And because we've left the world reliant on fossil fuels, but at the same time, cut down our own fossil fuel production here in the United States, domestically, Alaska, offshore, our fracking, now that's coming back to bite us because we've become reliant on countries like OPEC. OPEC is who? The Saudis and the Russians. So understand, we put them in this position. We gave them this power. We gave this to China, we gave this to Russia. But at the same time, we demonized them. We pursued military entanglements that they viewed as threats, specifically in terms of Ukraine. The United States did support a coup, a violent coup, in 2014 that overthrew the Ukrainian government, democratically elected government. They were not a quote-unquote pro-US government. That being said, they were elected, they were overthrown. All of this was viewed through the lens of the people who lived there as threats. Understand that. And when people were talking in the United States military and the United States government about putting long-range missiles or even short-range missiles in Ukraine, the leaders of Moscow and the leaders of the Kremlin viewed that as a threat. That they had other options. And that's where the brutality of all of this goes on that. They had so many other options. You could have cut off your own the pipelines. You could have raised the prices. You could have done so many more things. But make no mistake, Vladimir Putin chose this path. He chose the path that he is on now. He chose to roll these dice and to step away from the table of negotiations and economics and choose the path of war. Understand that. Do they have national security concerns? Fine. But he didn't have to do this. He just simply didn't. And you got people like Hillary Clinton now, former Secretary of State, calling for actual acts of war on Russia. A cyber attack, when you've announced that we're the ones doing it, could you be more stupid? You're calling for acts of war directly on the Russian homeland. Again, do you understand anything yet about how the Russian strategic military decision-making calculus works? They are going to view that as an escalation, and they're going to view it as an attack on Russia. You are now going to draw the United States. Think about that. Do you really want to draw the United States and all of our people and all of our military, as weakened as it's become, and as soft as it's become, our finances, as bad as they've become, our debt as out of control as it's become? You want to draw that into a direct war with Russia? This was the whole point of the Cold War, that we don't get into direct war because of something called mutually assured destruction. And Vladimir Putin was very clear about that when he announced this operation, when he announced this invasion. He said, essentially, that anyone who intervenes will be responded to with a high level of force. What does that mean? He's focused on nuclear war. He's put nuclear war on the table. So now the question becomes for us, or strategic calculus has to be, how do we prevent nuclear war from coming to the American homeland? It is not worth losing New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. over this. And it just comes down to that. I know, got my problems with those cities, but certainly San Francisco. But the time for all that talk is later. What do we do now? Look at the way the world is changing around us and understand how this is happening. Before I wrap up this segment, I'll give you a basic encapsulation of what we know in terms of how the operation is going on the ground. The Russian lines are pushing in from the south, from the east, and from the north. From the north, I think that's the one most people are focused on right now. They are pushing down from areas of Belarus and areas of Western Russia. They're coming down across the border regions, and they're headed in a pincer movement directly for Kiev. There's a battle for Chernobyl. You guys, certainly everyone remembers Chernobyl, or remembers the events of 1986, the nuclear meltdown that took place there. There was a battle that included an airborne assault from the Russian paratroopers into Chernobyl. They fought for it, they won, and they are now pushing forward through Chernobyl on the path to Kiev. Chernobyl lies directly on the Dnieper River on the path to Kiev. And now the fighting is beginning in Kiev. We're hearing reports that Chechens, the Tatars, the Cossacks, They're all being called up. They're being sent in. Understand what this means. They are gearing up for real urban warfare, urban combat. And the Ukrainians, Kiev, we're hearing, are also arming their populace, arming the civilians. Understand the Russian rules of engagement. They will target civilians with guns, and they will treat civilians as armed combatants. That's what's going to happen. You are going to see brutality unleashed, and it's going to be on each other. In the middle of these cities, you're going to see street-to-street fighting, and you are going to see absolutely horrific and bloody images coming out of this. And I want people to understand, this could have been prevented. This didn't have to happen. The Chechens that are going in, they're most likely going to be going after the Azov battalion. They're probably going to be deployed, thousands of them. It looks like they've been marching through Grozny, which is their capital city, Chechnya. They're marching, they're headed to Donbass, most likely. They're going to go after the Azov battalion. The question then becomes for us, what is Russia's strategic calculus? Do they want to hold all of Ukraine? We've seen targeted strikes, targeted operations. We've seen the pincer movement on Kiev, but it doesn't appear as if they're trying to hold all of Ukraine. We have heard some rustlings and some putting some feelers out. Zelensky's calling Macron, trying to reach out to Putin, try to sit down for peace. Lavrov has said that they may send a delegation to Minsk for further talks. This could be the path out of this. An off-ramp from these hostilities. And it's going to lead to changes in the border. Make no mistake about that. It is going to lead to changes in the border lines between Crimea in the south, for the Donbass in the east, and we'll see what happens in Odessa. But understand, this is the real world now. The time for pieces of paper are over. Energy politics, pipeline politics, warfare, military, boots and steel. This is the way the world works. This is the way the world has always been. You can try to deny it because you don't like it. And you can try to turn away and avert your eyes. But just because you close your eyes to reality doesn't mean that reality isn't there. You say that men can become women, women can become men, up is down, left is right. Tell yourself whatever you want, but you can't ignore reality. And a lot of this wishful thinking that went in, President Biden, Clinton family, you sold the Ukrainians out. Completely, you built them up and you sold them out, and you're walking away with millions and millions of dollars in the coffers of the Biden family's bank accounts. Hunter Biden's laptop proves all of that. Hillary Clinton and her foundation, you see what's there. That was the money of the people of Ukraine. You took it, you put it in your pockets, you gave it to your defense contractor buddies, and now you're walking away while those very same people are under attack. All right, and just to say it, if you want to continue to support us, support the show, support our advertisers, of course, one of our advertisers is MyPillow. You go to mypillow.com/Poso, get all the deals. You'll see it there, mypillow.com/Poso. More explanation, though. What's going on? We saw the Battle of Chernobyl. We're going to see the Battle of Kiev. It's already begun, as a matter of fact. It's happening right now. This war could have been prevented. But more to the point, we are now seeing a global restructuring of the world order. The United States is no longer the main superpower in the world. What you have is a resurgent Russia and the rise of China. So understand this. Russia is seeking to balance out China and India. But at the same time, India has now announced, we're getting reports, that they are seeking to find a way to continue to trade with Russia despite the sanctions. What does that mean? They're going to seek to find a way to do financial deals with them throughout the SWIFT system, outside of the SWIFT system, which means no US dollar. So Russia's going to stay on the SWIFT system for now. And why is that? Well, if you kick them out, or even push to kick them out, should, by the way. But what's like a response to that going to be? That's going to drive them to try to create a parallel financial economic system with China and with India and with others, possibly even Brazil. That's the One Belt, One Road. That is the answer to all of this. We are moving now to a system of multipolarity. We're moving to a system of the world where the US is not dominating everything. You're going to see India make deals with Russia and China. You're going to see China make deals with everybody. You're going to see Russia make deals with all of these areas. And you're going to see Europe. Europe is going to be moving in a direction where they are turning away. It's going to seem like they're turning away from the United States. But understand, we're going to have to stop looking at the world as if it's good guys and bad guys anymore. Don't get me wrong, there is good and evil. But understand that what is in America's strategic national interest? What do I mean by that? The good of our nation means providing for the security and the prosperity of the American people first. And that's why I said yesterday, I think I'm the only person who said this. For some reason, President Biden didn't even say it. But a threat on any American city will immediately lead to Moscow and Beijing being razed to the ground. President Trump used to say this, by the way. He told, it's reported, he told Vladimir Putin to his face that if Putin invaded Ukraine, that Trump would bomb the Kremlin, would bomb Red Square. And all those, the quote goes, all those beautiful golden turrets would be laid to waste. And he said that to Putin's face. He also told Xi the same, that he would bomb Beijing if they tried to take Taiwan. Well, we don't have that president anymore. We have a president who responds with sanctions, with statements, pieces of paper. That world is gone now. That world isn't going to work anymore. A piece of paper isn't going to save you when the Russian army is bearing down on your home. Understand that. If you made a deal with the Bidens or the Clintons, well, we've now seen how they keep their deals. We've now seen how they keep their word. You see what their word is worth. Make no mistake, all of this could have been avoided. We had 4 years of peace, and we were talking about building the American homeland, rebuilding, bringing our manufacturing home, decoupling from China, weakening them economically, and by the way, increasing America's domestic energy capacity. The more you increase that, how many times do I have to say this on the show? We shouldn't be invading the world. We should be invading Alaska. We should be invading the Permian Basin with fracking. We should be invading the Marcellus Shale with fracking. You go through all of these American domestic sources, offshore if you have to, AMWR if you have to. Go to these areas and develop them. Pebble Mine. So many ways that we can develop our resources here at home. And Greenland, let's have an actual discussion about what to do with Greenland. This is going to be the way not only to support our people, not only to support our interests and our safety and prosperity, but also if you flood the market with more oil, supply and demand, oil, natural gas, what do? Keystone XL pipeline from those oil shales from up in Canada down to the US. What are you doing? You're now lowering the price of oil. That means less money for the Russians. It also means less money for the Iranians. Understand how this works. It's all fit together. But you didn't want to look at it that way. People wanted to focus on saying that America is going to be this immortal superpower and that we can lead the world. History doesn't exist, and the real world doesn't exist. Human nature doesn't exist, and it doesn't matter. Well, it turns out that all of those things did matter. And it turns out that we've been trying to pull the wool over our own eyes. Now, understand, I've talked to a lot of people who are either in Ukraine, or Belarus. I've even had messages from Russia. The young people over there, they don't support this. They don't want this, but they saw it coming. Do you know that a lot of Russians in just the past couple of weeks converted their rubles into US dollars. Why? Because they knew what was coming. They saw this coming and they wanted to prepare for it. They knew the Russian economy would take a massive hit in the near term. And it is going to, by the way. And Putin may have miscalculated on this. And if he did, that's going to put Russia in a much, much weaker position than it's ever been, at least economically. But understand that economics is not the only thing that Russia responds to. They respond to power. They respond to force. This is the way of the world. This is Athens and Sparta. This is the sea power and the land power. The Athenians were seen as extravagant, decadent. And the Spartans, I think we all know about the Spartans and who the Spartans were. So understand, you're coming at the world from different perspectives. If you don't get that, the Russian people got it. But everybody in Washington, everybody in DC, everybody in London, all of these think tank analysts, CIA, they wanted to tell themselves they were so smart, had it all figured out, when they totally screwed up. And John Mearsheimer said it right. He said it best 6 years ago, that the West is leading Ukraine down a primrose path to war, and they are about to get wrecked. And when it happens, and when it comes, the West will be nowhere to be found. That's about all the time we had here for Human Events Daily here live. We're in CPAC, we're in Orlando, Florida. And I gotta say, there's a good energy here. There's a lot of people, great turnout, excellent event. I'm gonna be speaking on noon on Saturday. I'll be there. We're gonna be talking about this. We're gonna talk about more. We're gonna talk about who we think the Democrats' nominee for 2024 is going to be. And I think it's gonna be quite interesting given the events of the past couple of days. There are days where decades happen. We are in those days now. Prepare before it happens, not after. Share this out with your normie friends. Be the resistance. We still have a regime here at home. Don't forget that. Don't trust them. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
You guys, you don't even know what's about to hit you today. Like, literally, this interview is going to make you feel like you've been hit by a brand new Mercedes, but in the best way possible. Today's guest is notorious for shouting what everyone is thinking, but not ballsy enough to say out loud. Her YouTube videos are the holy grail of how not to put up with BS. In a world of convoluted influencers and people who stick to media scripts, she is the chic embodiment of facts not caring about your feelings. She's a jewelry designer, entrepreneur, and entertainer. Please welcome Her Royal Highness, Alex Pierce, aka HRH Collection on YouTube, to the Spillover.
Unless you're a numbskull, the Earth is not going to end in 10 years. If you can't support soda, then you can't have it. Oh my god. Oh my god, I can't. Oh my god. I'm going to run you over. Don't talk about me. You are so crazy. You're crazy. You actually are insane. It is very odd behavior, and that is very weird. And listen to the media and tell me I can't talk and tell me I'm selfish and a narcissist and I don't care about anyone myself in my business. That is thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. Like, you guys are so immature. Why am I f***ing green? It's f***ing water. They're only gonna buy it if it's cute, decent priced, water. That's it. They don't care about anything else. It's f***ing water. Go to any doctor. It's all about the f***ing calories. Get over it, okay? You look so pathetic. Like, it's the most sad, pathetic thing. So sad and pathetic. You're so pathetic, you're a little worm. Here is my food, okay? To me, it's like sinful to make fun of food. Like, how would you like to not have food? I'm sure someone out there would love to have a f***ing potato. You f***ing bitch. F***ing man.
Seriously.
Wow.
She was on one.
Wow.
She was so anti-potato. Okay, sorry. Hi.
Wait, that is absolutely incredible. And I did not know this. You do not edit your videos. You just post and go?
Yep. All the time. Well, I guess for the past 4 years. I don't know. You guys probably be able to know when I did and when I didn't do that. But yeah, totally. I'm not gonna go and redo anything. I said what I damn said, okay? Anything I say is what I said. I'm not going to take it back. I'm honest. It is what it is. And everything I say is right, too.
It's absolutely right. That's the thing, is that you may not like the delivery. It may not be your style.
That's the thing.
But you can't dispute the freaking facts.
Yeah. I've always said, people say, what you say is right, but your delivery sucks. Well, too bad. Okay, tough love. It's true. That's what I say.
I need to confess something to you before we start.
Okay.
This is the funniest. It would have been the most epic mishap. I feel like, oh my gosh, your freaking vlog on this would have been hysterical for the ages. So I don't know if you know this, but my team was working with your assistant, Judy, famous Judy.
Famous Judy, infamous.
Yes. Who's never seen, but she's she's always there in the background.
She's my gatekeeper.
Yes.
My caretaker.
So my team was working with her, and she'd asked is there hotel suggestions or whatever? We gave one, not knowing that the hotel that we suggested for you to originally stay in is hosting Satan Con.
Oh my God.
In Phoenix, the weekend that we're filming this.
You guys, why would you do that to me?
We didn't know.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
No, but all black Satan is Hot Topic explodes.
I would have texted you girl, what the is this? Where the did you put me? Is this a joke? I would have thought you set me up. No, not you, but you know what I mean? Right? Is this set up?
I had no idea. And so we found that out because it was a cute hotel that we suggested.
Yes,
I knew you would like it.
I know it from,
And what's funny is that the hotel that we suggested was the Saguaro Hotel. And it's all rainbow and colorful. It's very fashion blogger chic. That's where they're hosting Satan Con.
Yeah, they kind of would. I'm kidding.
Rainbow hotel for Satan Con.
I know, right? I don't know. No, well, it kind of wasn't my vibe, to be honest, anyway. It was a little bit too hipster or something. I don't know. It wasn't bougie enough.
It wasn't right. Okay, well, good. Then I'm glad that didn't work out.
Yeah, I was let's just go here instead.
I don't think you realize how big you are in the sphere, the opportunities you're getting, because you told me about some other people, which I won't mention in case you decide not to do it, with some other huge celebrities that asked you to go on their podcast. You're blowing the hell up.
I am. But I also am very, I'm the kind of person where you're guilty before you're innocent to me. And it's I'm only going to go out with you if I trust you. I don't want people to go me up. I want to know what you're going to ask me. I want to know what you're going to, because I'll walk out. I'll literally walk out of your podcast and I'll leave if you're going to be a dick. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of person. I'm not going to let you try to ruin me, ruin my brand, talk shit. So I'm going to also be careful, because I've worked my ass off from day one to get where I am today without any help. So I'm very protective over it too. That's why I was Alex, I'll do Alex. She's amazing. I trust her. So I don't know, but I'll do it now. I'll give a I'll walk off if I don't like it.
Exactly. I have been watching your videos.
That's the thing. I really don't.
I've been watching your videos since 2014 or 2015, I think was the first time I started watching you. And I just want to say, for the record, you are
It's changed a lot, right?
No, it hasn't changed
People
at all.
say, "Oh, I love the way you rebranded yourself." I'm
no.
Rebrand?
No.
What?
Who's saying that? They're wrong.
They said that.
No. This is what I'm going to tell you. When it comes to branding and marketing, you're a freaking genius. I've never really seen anything like it. And what's interesting about you, and if we're going to compare you to politicians or something, okay, total opposite sides of this political spectrum. But what's interesting and what someone like Bernie Sanders or President Trump had in common was they're both super authentic. And if you look back on their careers, they've been themselves the entire time.
Right. That's the only way it can be.
Yes.
At that moment, that's how I was. I mean, might have been a little bit nicer in the beginning. If you guys see my videos from the very beginning, I was YouTube nice. Hi guys, back today, because that's just the way it was. But I'm tired of it. No, I just want to be myself. I'm sick of these people being so fake. Not everyone's life is perfect. People can, make mistakes or whatever. And I don't have time to be fake. I don't have time to no, I'm just going to be me, and that's it. I'm going to say what the I want to say, especially in this clown world right now. I'm sick of it, dude. People need to be called the out. I'm done. I'm done with it.
But you were ranting about knowing what the vibe is and stuff 6 or 7 years ago. So to me, you haven't changed. You've gotten older.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
I think you've gotten bolder, maybe.
Yeah, bolder. Yes.
But you haven't changed what you believe, what you think. When it comes to fashion, what's funny to me is that Gen Z TikTokers right now are totally jocking your style. They're copying you. Yeah. Stuff you were wearing and doing 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They don't understand the game. They don't understand where it came from. It was literally you.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I love it. I love the recognition. I'm finally getting recognition. recognition. Like, I never get any recognition ever.
If you go back on your videos, you can see like big t-shirts, biker shorts, like layered
it's
jewelry.
always been my thing. Yeah, true. Thank you for recognizing that.
They don't respect.
Yeah, no, they don't. They have no respect. Losers.
Speaking of respect, Maddie from Euphoria has been getting
What is that?
dangerously close to ripping off Sleepy Droop.
Sleepy Droop. Yeah, Sleepy Droop is my thing, okay? And I've done so many fucking tutorials on this for these dumb, ugly f***s, okay? That's the thing. Like, I have shown you guys 40 times how to do the Sleepy Droop.
This is her eyeliner thing.
I am not showing you again, okay? If you cannot replicate the Sleepy Droop, it's not my problem, and there's a reason why you can't. Honestly, it's like your face doesn't like work for it, and like I don't know, but it's like my thing. I love it so much. Can you see it? I don't know.
Yeah, you can see it.
I love it.
If you're watching
it's
on
very
YouTube,
it's very like 1970s like old Hollywood star. It's just like a vibe,
which I think is very you, like the Beverly Hills Hotel type of old Hollywood glam.
It's very weird, and it's very something that it's like this weird line that just comes out, and it's very like sexy, but like weird and cool, and no one does it. But it's not like it's not like disgusting. It's not like, I don't know, like too extra. It's just like cool.
And one of my followers is who actually asked you for a link.
No.
To something that you had posted. If you know anything about Alex, and you know you never ask her for a link to where she bought something.
Never. Don't ever ask me for a link. Honestly, no. The link thing is so annoying. It's like people are so entitled nowadays on Instagram. They just demand like, oh, I want the link. What do you mean you want the link? Like, you can't just ask for, especially someone like me. So this is the thing. A lot of people out there, whatever. So let's talk about like home decor. They buy their home decor from a normal place where you could just go and just buy it. Okay, you just go pick it up.
Home Goods.
Home Goods. Target. I don't know where else. Anthropology, some No, my stuff is very carefully chosen. Okay, you can't just buy it. No, you cannot. It is from a thrift store. It is from an estate sale. It is very carefully
But
chosen.
Alex, you understand?
It bothers me.
You would make buku money if you were to do like to know it.
I hate that. Just oh my god, no. Oh my god, I know. No, first of all, I don't have time to put a link. Okay, I have to make jewelry. I don't have a time for find it your damn self. What, 20 cents? I don't care.
I think it's more than that.
I know. Whatever.
These girls are making thousands of dollars a month just in people clicking their links. But the thing is, though,
but I don't have any of that
worth?
ugly I don't have any of that ugly
You don't. And the thing is that you wouldn't. I know that you would not like people copying and having the same stuff.
Yeah, and I don't have anything that's like it's not everything. But a lot of things I have are not normal. They're like very unique things that people just act like, oh, let me just buy that. You can't buy that. It's not that. It's very unique.
You run a jewelry business.
Yes.
You brought up jewelry called HRH Collection.
Right, that's what I do.
Which is you're at on social media, HRH Collection.
Well,
that's all her stuff.
I have like 4 of them now.
Business is huge. Was James Charles wearing your jewelry recently?
Yes, he does. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I was wondering is HRH Collection the only job that you've ever had? Like you graduated from college and then straight up just did that? Or did you work somewhere else? Because I cannot imagine you like in an office somewhere.
I did, but I was only hired because my boss like thought I was hot and wanted me to work there. Well, to be honest, he like hired me for accounting. I can't even add 2
What?
plus 2. I was in accounting. That was my first job as accounting.
For how long?
A year. A year until HRH was getting so big that I couldn't handle both because I was doing HRH at night after my 9 to 5. And finally, I just went and told him that I had this business on the side. And he's like, you need to leave. You need to quit because you're stifling your own business. I was like, I know. I just came to basically talk to you about it. So, yeah, that's what happened. I was doing this HRH thing, which was totally by happenstance, to be honest, while I had a 9 to 5. And that's kind of how it happened.
Was it just something like, okay, like, no, I can't find what I'm looking for jewelry-wise, so I need to just
Basically,
create it?
I was just, filling time doing YouTube videos about like what I had in my bag. And I was wearing a piece of jewelry that I had made, and people started asking me. And I thought to myself, okay, these people are watching my videos. I have 300 views, for example. This is 300 potential customers. Like, what can I do with this? So when they asked me for jewelry, I started making it. And then I had an Etsy shop, and it started from there. So that's basically how it grew, but it was very organic. I've never taken a design class. I've never taken any kind of like design class at all. And I know I'm not stupid. Like, I will do what I can. What I love comes very natural to me.
But are you scared because so much of your business has been like my viewers translate into my customers, and now you keep getting freaking censored on social media? But I don't get why, because you're not saying anything. Like, what is it that they're saying you're breaking the rules about, that they keep disabling your accounts?
I swear to God, I'm not even joking you. I know you're going to get into this afterwards. You might. I'm not even kidding. I have boiled it down to there is an individual. This sounds so like whatever. There's an individual at Instagram who is fat. I'm not kidding. You think I'm crazy. It's true. This person is fat and she hates me because and she's fat and she's woke. Every time, yes, every time I post anything about 600-pound life, okay? We can get into me being fat before if you want. Or about someone being woke, my count, everything stops. I'm growing 1,000 a day, 1,000 a day, 500 a day, 500 a day. It stops, and then they will start reporting me for everything. How is that? You tell me how that is. Every time.
What's interesting to me is I figured it had to have been trolls.
This is my third Instagram account.
It has to be someone that hates you that constantly reports you.
No, it can't be. It has to be someone higher to be able to actually take action at that point. Don't you think?
It must be, but I'm just do they send you an email or anything?
Yeah, it's like, oh, your account is liable for being, declined or whatever, taken down, whatever. And then the next day I'll wake up and the account's gone. I've tried to get my account back. I had whatever. That account was so shadow banned. I had that account for 10 years. It only had 120,000. This new one I have has 45,000 and I've only had it for 5 months. So do the math.
But your videos of you are exploding on TikTok. Your YouTube numbers, how much higher are your YouTube views right now?
Oh, it's double, more than double.
Do you think it's because of kids reposting you on TikTok and using your sounds?
It must be because of the TikTok is siphoning people to YouTube to see me. I think that it's TikTok. But Instagram is blowing up too. When they don't screw with me, Instagram goes really fast.
I always thought that you were the same age as me. I'm in my late 20s. I thought this whole time that I've been watching you that
Everyone says that. Everyone says that. Everyone guess my age. Guess my age.
Mid to late 20s is what I thought.
I know. Thank you so much. Honestly, thank you.
You said your age the other day. I can't remember if it was on Instagram or in a video.
Uh-huh.
And how old are you?
37.
How?
I can't believe it. I can't even believe I'm 37. Doesn't feel like it at all.
Dude, you do not look like you're 37. I'm telling you right now.
Thank you.
How, what are you doing? What is the routine?
I'm not going to lie. I'm honest with you guys about everything. I do filler and I do Botox. But
so do I.
Not too much. I have Greek and Swedish background in me. It's genes. A lot of people say, drop your skincare routine. You're ugly, okay? Nothing's gonna help you, to be honest. It is genes, okay?
But what age did you start getting Botox and filler? Because I started at 23.
Yeah, 26.
And see, I think it's preventative when it comes to aging.
Preventative, definitely, absolutely. That's why I did it too back then. Because then you won't have those permanent wrinkles.
Right. Well, your face cannot settle into those lines because it's prevented with the Botox and stuff.
So then if you don't do that, you'll have the wrinkle and you have to get the filler in the wrinkle. And it's just,
Yeah, exactly.
You have to have a good injector, someone who you trust. And I do. I have someone who I trust, who I go to, and they would never make me look crazy. But I really think it also is I'm not ugly.
It's true. Some of it, you're just born with it, baby. Some of it.
Sorry. I don't talk it is what it is. The sky is blue. Sorry. There's honest things we can
It is what it is. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I think Kylie Jenner has even dialed down a little bit on her lip injections.
Yeah, I don't
feel
do
like.
anymore. I haven't had my lips done. No, this is 3 years, not with nothing. They're just like this.
Why?
I actually do a lip liner that cuts off my lips because I think that I want thinner lips now.
I have a major arch in my lips, so I couldn't draw over like you do if I tried.
I do too. That's why I got sick of it. I don't like that vibe anymore. I used to love it, but now it's done.
Do you have an itinerary for your videos, or you just talk about what you want to talk about?
No, I just get irate. I get angry about what the is going on, what people say to me, what people do to me, what I see on the TV, what I see on people comments, and I just go off. That's my itinerary.
But it seems like you have a general idea of the subjects you want to cover in a video.
I came up with a list. During the week, if something pisses me off, I will write it down.
And then do you just remember once you press record, or do you have a list in front of you?
No, I remember. I don't ever stop it.
Wow. See, I cannot remember all that kind of stuff. No.
Oh, yeah. Maybe once I'll stop it to refer, but no, I just know.
You were living in your bungalow house, which I'm still sad you moved. I love your new house.
LA's disgusting. Bye. LA.
But that house was so precious. It was Brentwood, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Brentwood was oh yeah, I'm gonna pay the tax on my house for bums to come up to my front door.
What were you experiencing?
on my driveway.
Pre-pandemic, what were you experiencing living in Brentwood?
I didn't know how woke everyone is. I knew they were woke. I knew everyone in Brentwood was woke. I knew it, but no one talked about it because you didn't know. But as soon as the pandemic hit, if you didn't wear a 12,000 masks over your face at the Brentwood Country Mart, then they looked at you like you were some kind of alien, and I would get in fights with them, and I would like throw my coffee and leave. I couldn't do it anymore. There was no happiness left in LA. I was sick of it. I knew these were freaks. I'm sick of the freaks.
But isn't Brentwood supposed to be one of the nicer areas?
It's beautiful. It's where all the celebrities live, and it's gorgeous. But there's also, it's completely overrun by homeless, and they just act like they are blind to it. It's sick. These people are sick.
What was the most infuriating part of just the whole decline of that area?
That I came from nothing, basically, and I bought this house that I loved in Brentwood, okay? And I did what I was so excited that I would buy this house, my starter house, and then I would maybe build on it or buy another one in Brentwood. And I actually, by my self, made something in Brentwood, which was hard to do, and I had to leave. I was forced out because of how disgusting it became.
Was it hard to sell?
It was hard.
A house?
It was very hard. But no, it wasn't at that point because I wanted out. I could not wait. I didn't want to stay another day there. I didn't want to spend another $1.
But I mean, was it hard to find a buyer?
No.
With everything going on, they wanted to move to that area, even with all the homelessness.
Some woke idiot moved in.
Really?
The child. Yeah.
Did you stalk them on Facebook?
We actually talk on text, and she's like, "We're doing the house," and dumbass, whatever.
She's redoing it.
Yeah, they're gonna take the back down and build on it or something. They're gonna keep the front. She also appreciates, like the integrity of the house, which I like. I'm happy that she's not tearing it down because we both love like the integrity of how pretty it is. But I think they're doing something on the back and making it bigger or something.
Let's talk about skinny fridge and skinny life and skinny legend life.
Okay, go on.
I would say, following you, that this might be is it one of the most controversial things that you bring up that just pisses people off the most?
Yeah, definitely. The skinny stuff. Yes, absolutely. It's probably that.
So people that have never watched your videos, they're hearing it for the first time. Mm-hmm. They should go back. Mm-hmm. But explain your journey of like absolutely just hating like this body positivity movement that just embraces
clown
obesity.
World! Clown fucking world. The clown world. Go on. Sorry, I have like Tourette's.
That's it though. Like
so sick of it.
Talk about your journey because you're not coming like you're.
Now,
just
did you know on TikTok I learned that if you're fucking obese that you can be anorexic?
Yes.
What in the actual?
What is that? Who is the model that said that?
I don't want to say it because like I don't want to say it. She's like that fat woman. She's like woke and fat. She's actually crazy. And was gonna tag me now. I look at you tag her. It's so stupid. Like, gonna turn me into some I don't give a about. Like, think I give a if she comes for me? Block, delete, okay? Like, stupid. Think I give a shit? Like,
but what is
people
it?
think they can come for me. It's
you
so
were just like always like I think first of all I think you're beautiful, and I mean I've been following you for years, so I've seen your journey. I saw you got lipo,
girl. We're
right?
not a clown world. I was fat.
But no, I'm saying since I've watched you, I don't think you've ever been fat. I've never watched you where I thought she's fat. I never have.
Yes, I was very fat.
But you got lipo and stuff, right?
It doesn't work. Don't ever. Hey, out there, everyone, do not get lipo. Okay, you only get lipo. I did it. I thought it was gonna be like the miracle treatment. It didn't. Nothing works. Okay, you have to lose weight. Lipo only works if it's like someone as skinny as you, and you go in to get like a little bit of a shape. Like, you know what I mean? Going for like shaping. That's the only time lipo works.
So you didn't notice any difference?
Nothing. It gave me a little bit of a waste. That's it. Nothing. I'm telling you right now, biggest waste of money ever.
Okay, so you felt like in high school or what, that you growing up, you were fat?
I was. I say I have the fat gene. My grandma was fat. I took after my dad's side. My highest, I was like 181 pounds. Fat. That's fat. Okay. And I got fat too. It's like a struggle. It's a life struggle. I'm always probably going to be up and down. It's something I always have to be really careful about. I'm not exactly where I want to be right now. I'm about 7-8 pounds heavier. It's something I'm always going to have to monitor. And if I don't, then I will blow up. I'll get fat.
How do you monitor it?
Calories. And anyone who tells you that you're like, whatever, what's the word? You're anorexic or whatever, watching calories. It's f***ing math. It's simple math. It's calories in, calories out, okay? Like, you should probably max. I don't work out. I hate working out.
I do too.
F***ing can't do it. That's why, because I don't move. All I do is walk from my car back to my office.
You don't do walks with Ming?
No, she hates walking. She's in the stroller. The
stroller. She's us.
Stroller. Yeah, in order to be skinny and like my skinny how I like it, I eat 1,200 calories to 15 max a day. That's the allotment. That's real. That's actually math. if you don't move a lot and you're a woman, that's the max you should eat a day. Max.
Really? Well, I'm definitely eating more than that, but I live exclusively on a diet of junk food.
You have like a different metabolism. You're probably skinny your whole life. You're lucky. Like, I'm not lucky like that. Like,
I always tell people my insides are probably tar.
Why?
Just molting on the inside because that's how bad I eat. You eat very healthy.
I try not to eat.
Yeah, but people would say like that's encouraging eating disorders.
I don't give a f you. Like, I don't care. Don't go out and eat 12 burgers and not give a what you do. Like, it's annoying. Like, people try to tell me how to live my damn life. I'm not telling you what to do. You come onto my page. Don't come onto my page if you don't want to hear the truth. Get the off.
Okay, so what are like top 5 HRH endorsed healthy habits or whatever skinny fridge life that you do?
Like what I like to eat, like skinny tricks.
Yes, skinny tricks.
Skinny tricks are lean cuisine.
That is nasty, Alex.
No, I have no choice. I want to eat that. I can eat 40 hamburgers. Okay.
I do not believe in microwaves. They gross me out. I don't eat leftovers or do microwave stuff.
You don't have anything to worry about. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So lean cuisine.
Lean cuisine because it's a portion control. And then, oh my God, look at my Rolex. Everyone, it f***ing falls off all the time. I'm so sick of this. They know it. Jellos, the 10-calorie Jellos.
Okay, this just sounds like what you'd eat in an insane asylum.
Yeah, this is what I have. This is what you have to do. Any fatzos out there who are real, if you're a real like ex-fatty like me, you will know the truth. Okay, you're not gonna bullshit lie. Coffee. Okay,
makes you poop.
Don't eat after 8. Never eat after 8. There's no reason to be eating after 8. The kitchen is f***ing closed after 8. You fat ass. Go to bed. Period. Period.
This is hard for me to hear.
Period. Do not eat after 8. Yeah. And do not have a colleague like Judy because she likes to eat whatever the she wants. She's a bad influence.
So she eats in front of you, or are you like, don't eat that in front of me?
Well, when I was going through my skinny stage, like when I was really trying to lose weight, like the office or whatever would eat and I wouldn't eat. Like, I'm starting to eat again because we're doing longer hours, so I'm getting fat because of you. I'm kidding.
We love Judy.
Yeah, we love Judy.
Do you ever worry, like, okay, you always talk about like how you don't have friends, which I just don't believe.
Yeah.
But do you ever worry that like Judy is like your only main friend, but you pay her?
Yeah, this is funny. You know what's funny is like a mean ex said that to me once. Like,
are you kidding?
Judy only likes you because you. What the f is wrong with this chair?
Sorry.
Judy only likes you because you pay. You pay. No, Judy does not have to work for me. You guys, that's the thing with that. Judy is as strong-willed as me. Judy doesn't put up with any bullshit. Judy doesn't need to work.
Does she call you out?
Yeah, all the time. We are like, we're so different, but we're very similar too.
What's the one thing about you that you think drives her nuts the most about your personality?
Probably not much.
She's like, actually.
No, we don't, like, I don't know. Like, when we're on our periods, we need to stay away from each other. We did. We were for a while. And we just got off. And we'd always joke, like, we cannot come to the office together during this time.
How did you meet her?
I met her best friend was my first assistant a long time ago, and she was a follow. I hire like people who are like loyal to me.
Yeah, I'm the same
and she's
way.
been here for 6 years, so it's like she's not. I don't think of her like she's a colleague anymore. It's like it's different.
Dude, the number one thing with me, work relationships. If I ever feel like wronged or in any way, like you're done.
Same.
I can't. I have to be able to trust the people that are closest to me.
1000%. I get nasty in the past. I'll like, you're gone. Like, I don't even say it. I just get so.
Are you a ghoster or do you confront people?
No,
when you're mad.
I confront.
I don't confront. I hate confrontation.
You have to. I have to in like a really pissed way, actually.
When I was first watching you a couple years ago, first on the scene, it was weird because like sometimes I felt like you were married and then sometimes I feel like I DM'd you this forever ago. I was like, Alex, are you married or not? Because I can't tell because sometimes it seems like you have like a husband, you talk about it, and then sometimes I feel like you don't wear a ring, and I'm very confused. Yeah. So let's set the record straight.
Sure. You can ask me whatever you want. That's fine. Go on.
Were you married?
Yes, I was married for like 4 years, together for like 7.
How did you guys meet?
Through mutual friend through like school, I guess.
You met in college?
No, he's older than me. He's like 43.
What?
Yeah, he's like 7 years older than me.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that you're like
I'm 37.
Not 25 years old.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I know.
I was like, that's way older.
Way older.
No.
But
Okay.
he's still too old. Still old. Not too old, but still, yeah.
Okay, so You guys were together, but he was like rarely ever. You never really posted about him. He was rare. He wasn't really in your videos. Was that a big point of contention for you guys? Your YouTube channel?
No, not at all. It was a very separate life. We were friends. There was really no chemistry. It was kind of something that dragged on too long that should have never been. And it kind of was something where I'm very devoted to HRH. HRH is everything to me. So because he kind of was just there all the time and we grew together, it happened when it shouldn't have, and we got married when it shouldn't have, because HRH is like what I had on the front burner all the time.
Were you holding resentments, like walking down the aisle? I don't know. Did you have a wedding?
No. I had to give him ultimatums, basically, like, because he's like a LA Mr. like young guy. Thinks he's young, typical LA guy. He's 43 now. He'll probably never get married again. And I had to be like, listen, because I'm the kind of person where I really think that after a year of dating at this age, you know or you don't. You get engaged at that year. And I mean, when I mean engaged, I mean a ring and a date, not just a ring. Anyone out there who's got their ring with no date, you're an idiot. Okay, you're not getting married. Get a date. A ring doesn't mean He gave me the ring to shut me up.
Did you watch, are you a fan of The Office?
Yeah.
Remember Pam and Roy? He's like, oh yeah, we're going to get married, but they would never set a date.
That was it. And he did it just to hold me, just so I wouldn't leave. And so after a year or 2 years of this going around and around, we finally just got married, him and I, on the beach by ourselves. No family, no one blessed it, no one knew.
Really?
I broke it to my family. They were so pissed.
You seem really close with your family, too.
Yeah, they were mad. It was sad. But I want to be married. Of course I want to be married. It's hard. It's hard because in LA, it's hard. And I own a business. And when you do very well, it's also intimidating. When you have a strong personality, it's always intimidating. When you're very opinionated and, driven, it's also intimidating.
Did you guys try to have kids?
That was the problem. He didn't want to. He said he did. Always said he would. Always said okay. And then it's just disgusting stuff, but wouldn't commit to that.
So he kept changing his mind about kids.
So saying, oh, if you would have been nicer yesterday, then we would have tried tonight.
Been nicer?
Yeah, we're not having sex now.
Like holding it against you?
Yes.
Why do I feel like that's more something you hear manipulative that a woman would do?
But thank God, thank God that God didn't let this happen. Because we don't love each other like that. So God is always on my side. Everything in my life has been amazing. It's been a lot of heartache, a lot of trouble, but it's always for a reason. And I get chills thinking about him. I'm so close to God, it's sick. Him and I, he does everything for me for a specific reason. It's always the right way. It may take a little bit longer, it may be hard, but I have an amazing life. And I know if I want to have kids, I'll be able to have kids. If I want to get married, I'll get married. It's taking a little bit longer again, but whatever.
Do you still talk to him?
God?
No.
Oh. All the time. Yes. Oh my God. If I wanted my ex back, dude, I could call, where's my phone? I could call my ex back and say, let's meet tonight. He'd meet tonight.
He would?
Oh my God. Yeah.
He simps for you.
Totally. Yes. Oh yeah.
Does he still text you?
Judy, if I could.
Judy's rolling her eyes. Judy you can't see her. She's off camera.
Judy knows.
She's always off camera.
Yeah. Judy knows. Yeah, of course. It's dude, I would never go back. I've come to some realization, or there's developments lately of some sick shit. So no, I would no.
I don't think HRH followers really have ever thought about the idea of you being a mom. The only time I've ever heard you talk about motherhood is when you said kids should be seen and not heard.
They should. And that's an old adage that's 1,000% true. Children should be seen and not heard. If I had a child, it would be so well behaved. It would be like Ming. See how well behaved Ming is?
Okay, but Ming is a dog who doesn't have a mouth that would inherit from you.
Oh no, my parents used to take me to Christmas parties. Everything, I would sit down and shut the up like a child should and be cute and shut your mouth. Okay, you sit down, you're well behaved. That's how a child should be. You don't run around screaming and yelling like these children do nowadays. It's sick. There's these children and not behave. It makes me. It's bad. No.
Alex HRH as a mom, paint the picture. What would it be like?
Oh my God, I'd be like a tiger mom. They say that in Chinese or whatever, tiger mom. My kid would be, it'd be like stellar. I think I might push it too hard though, or it might fail.
Dude, there is a parenting book called The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, which is, this is a weird fun fact about me, but I love parenting books, even though I'm not a parent. Just because I'm like, I want to prepare. I want to be the best freaking mom ever. So I read these books. You would love this book because it's all about Chinese parenting, and they do not mess around.
They don't mess around. I do not mess around either.
They like will make their kids practice piano for like 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And if the kid complains, they like smack their hands like, get back on that piano.
There's a reason. I mean, nowadays parents just like let these kids choose themselves what they want to do today. Like, no, you kids have to be told what to do, monitored, put on a schedule. There's things that children have to be reared. Okay, you don't just let a kid choose its gender. You know what I mean? It's stupid. Like you control and parent your damn child. Okay. Seen and not heard. It's an old adage for a very good reason.
I will say this, watching you take care of animals over the last few years, bunnies, whatever. I mean, you've had like all these random animals. You're such an animal person. I am not. The only dog, every guy I've ever dated knows that the only dog I like is Ming. I do not like dogs.
She's not really a dog. That's why she's a human.
She's
Everyone
like a
knows
human.
that. She actually is. It's weird.
And it's like wearing baby clothes and all that. I think it's cute and I like that. And because Ming doesn't bark.
No.
So I like that.
She's so well behaved.
But does she shed a lot?
Nothing. She's hypoallergenic.
No way.
Maltese, and she's a Korean Maltese.
And you flew to Korea to get your dog?
Her parents are flown here, and they had her here. I didn't have her shipped. I just feel like that's sad.
Okay.
But so yeah, I found like a breeder who specially does Korean Maltese. And
I thought there was a video of you going to Korea.
No.
And, I don't know why I thought. Maybe it was just you in a Korean shopping mall.
Probably, yeah. That was it. Yes.
Which I love too. I'll go there. I went to in New York when I was in New York last. I made sure I went to like a Korean store. I get all their sheet masks.
Yes.
Obsessed with Korean beauty products. There's nothing like them. They're so much better than everything in America.
Totally.
I got little Hello Kitty chopsticks.
Yes. Oh my God, love. I have them too.
I have kid like plastic forks, but they're like Korean characters and stuff. I don't know.
Like
I
small,
like that.
Yes. So cute.
I always bring. So I like to eat. This is totally not on Skinny Fridge approved, I'm sure, but I always bring like a little tiramisu or cheesecake for breakfast, and I have
little small like Korean things they have, the cutest desserts ever.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. I love going to K-Town and doing that. I take Ming to like a Korean groomer, and then I go have like a Korean coffee at Koreatown Mall, and I do my thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about this, like talking about kids and everything, and you being in your late 30s. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
What is the plan? Are you thinking maybe I should freeze eggs, adopt? What's the deal?
No, I really want to have my own. I mean, I think adopting is amazing, but I really want to have. I'm gonna freeze my eggs. My birthday's in May, so now that I'm divorced. I was divorced this last year. I gave myself a year, whatever. I don't know nothing.
But
I've
you've
been so
been
busy.
dating.
Yeah, I've been
so are
dating.
you saying to guys that you're dating, I want to have kids?
Yes, of course. I'm a very open person, and I was dating, and things. It's just at this age, you know more what you want, and you're able to like understand like right away. You can pinpoint bad things and good things, and you have to weigh them out quick. So I had to weigh things out at this age very quickly, because I want to have a family. But I don't know. If I freeze my eggs now, have a kid at 40, 41, I'm okay. I'm going to be an old mom either way, is what it is.
Yeah, but I do think like you've posted before of you with your niece and nephew or something.
My brother has 3 children.
Yeah. And so like you seem good with kids, and you're not always like, I mean, you're yelly, but you're not like yelly.
No. And
you have a chill side.
Yeah. No, I'm very, it's like chill or not. I don't know what it is.
I'm the same way.
You know what I mean? Like I'm very passionate about something, or I'm just like whatever about things. But when I find that passionate thing, then I'm like 0 to 60 for sure.
So what's dating? How do you feel like dating has been since you've been divorced?
Well, since I bought that house, I have a new house. I've been taking on a lot of responsibility with that. I don't live in LA anymore. I date in Orange County.
How is it?
Well,
is it a different scene than LA?
I haven't dated in LA. Was dating someone, whatever, for a while that I just knew. We had like a history, and we're kind of in like a period right now where I don't know.
Do you do apps?
No, I can't. There's no way. How am I getting people are gonna with me if I go on an app? Can you imagine?
No, that's why I was like, how do you meet? But how do you meet people? It's always mutual friends and stuff.
It's gonna have to be, girl. How do you not? Like, oh, you're dating someone.
I have a boyfriend, and he's in Orange County.
I know. I forgot. Sorry.
And he's older than me. He's 31, so he's at least closer in yours. Maybe we can find some rich friends in Orange County.
Newport. I live there.
I know. When I'm there with him, I'm flying there.
Are you holding out on me?
No. No. He just moved there. He just moved there in the summer.
From where?
From here, from Phoenix.
Oh my God.
So he went to ASU, he lived here, and then now he lives in Orange County, and I go there sometimes. So we'll have to go. I'm actually going to be there this weekend that we're filming this for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I will be out there seeing him.
I saw you there. I just didn't know. I saw you on Insta when you were there, but I didn't know.
I know. He comes here more than I go there, but
that's sweet. That's good. That is good.
No, it is good.
Yes.
I make him do that.
Good.
Especially because I'm redoing my apartment right now, and I'm like,
he should come out here. He is the man, bitch.
He's very cute, very funny, very talkative.
He's very cute.
And he knows all about you.
Oh, good.
We call you Alex HRH. I'm like, I'll forward him your stories. Like, look what Ming is doing.
Aww.
He's like, hi, Ming.
Sweet.
What were you like in high school?
Fat.
Next question.
Period. Fat.
Were you bullied?
Yes.
What was it? Talk about like friends in high school, and is that why you feel like you don't have a lot of friends now?
In high school, I literally sat in the locker room during lunch, had no friends, talked to the lunch lady.
I don't understand this because you're so funny, and like I feel like you could talk to anybody.
Yeah, I could talk to anyone. I could. It's not that. I was fat and I had zero self-confidence, and I didn't. It's hard. This is why I'm so passionate about the fat thing, because it affected my life so much. And I know, because I'm not living in a clown world. I know people who are fat girls. I don't know about men. Girls who are fat, it's not happy. It's not fun. It affects you. Just getting up in the morning and trying to find something to wear. It is a chore. It is sad. You cry. Like, it's actually a burden. And it's something I've had to deal with for a very long time. So when I lose the weight, I've lost the weight twice now. I've been up and down. It's so much easier. It's so much happier because you don't feel bad about yourself.
But think about teenage Alex.
Yeah.
If you would have been living as a teenager in 2022 with the obesity is healthy.
I'd probably be fatter than a cow.
How do you think that would have affected you?
I would have been eating like a cow. That's what's so sad.
You think you would have believed that fat is healthy?
I wouldn't believe healthy, but I would say, see, it's fine. Other people are fat too. It's fine. It's fine that we're fat. It's fine. See, it's fine. And I would have just been, because it's just like, eating is an addiction. It's actually an addiction. And people say it's harder to like kick an eating addiction or to lose weight than it is to get off drugs, because you're around food all the time.
Yeah.
People can move away from drugs. You cannot move away from food.
Some people think that you're a bully, though, because you're always like, stop being fat. But what do you think is the difference between a bully and someone that's just telling the frickin' truth?
You come on my page. Do I come and bully you? Like, no, I'm not bullying you. You're coming here. Don't come to my page then. If you don't want to hear what I have to say, if you don't want to hear my truth, my story, what I think, my diary, then don't come here. I'm not a bully. I'm not going to go out to you and say anything to you, ever.
I always tell people, one of the number one things that young girls especially ask me is like, Alex, how do I respond to like haters in my Instagram comments or sending me DMs and stuff? I always say block them. And I think about you.
Yeah.
There's no shame in the blocking game.
Yeah, that's it. Block. They want you to respond.
I know.
They want
it's an
you
attention thing.
Dude, now people do this to me. They try to like ask me questions on purpose or ask for links just so I respond to them. It's so pathetic. Because I say don't ever ask for a link ever again. Now they ask me for links. Stupid. So pathetic. You guys are dumb.
You know that we had a guest a few episodes back. I always try. So one thing about the spillover, especially if you're listening to this from, and you're someone that follows Alex HRH. Mm-hmm. So funny, I have to differentiate because we're the two Alexes. And we're both Alexandras.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I love.
Yeah, Drea is a no.
No. The hard dra.
Yes.
If you're coming from Alex's page and you've never listened to the spillover before, every episode is completely different. I have totally different guests. This is more of a free-for-all episode. Sometimes they have themes, whatever. And I just try to find like the most jaw-dropping, interesting people and stories. You told me that one of your favorite episodes was Medley, this girl that has like burns on 96% of her body.
I did listen to that.
Really unique stuff. Right. Well, one woman is an ex-psychic, and she went off about how if you say like the word vibe, it's demonic.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Demonic? If I say something is the vibe?
Yeah, she says like good vibes, sending good vibes, it's all demonic because it's like new age. And she's an ex-new ager and she saes new age is demonic. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that's every other word that comes out of Alex's mouth.
Oh my God, that's like so creepy. I do not I don't know what to say to that.
I thought you would be shook.
Actually speechless.
You need to, it's the Doreen Virtue episode. You need to go back and listen to it because I would just be so curious what your reaction would be.
But I'm not saying vibe like, I know what she's saying, like the word vibe is probably like vibe, like what's your vibe?
Yeah,
Like, no, I'm saying vibe like there's a vibe. Like this is a damn vibe. This brush, if my followers saw this brush and this drink, they would know this is a damn vibe right here, okay?
The damn vibe.
Yeah.
When everything started just going woke Joker BS in 2020, just everything was just insane. Everything was political. Everyone was so sensitive.
Yeah.
Everything offended everyone. Like people were getting fired. If you weren't posting the stupid black square, you're gone. Like all this stuff. Were you just like really like, did you have a moment where you're like, okay, I am a little nervous on what I should or shouldn't be saying right now on my channel?
Yeah. You guys can go review my videos.
You called out the black square stuff.
I have multiple times. I call out things all the time. I call out bullshit all the time. I called out the quarantine, the masks from day one. I called it out. I did post the black square.
You did? I don't remember this.
Okay, so this is the thing.
You posted and deleted it, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, your account got deleted.
Yeah. I posted the black square
I'm
because
shocked.
I'm so mad. I posted the black square because that I was being forced to, okay?
By who? The followers?
People. And I don't usually do that, but it was so hot because of the remember the
George Floyd
quarantine? No, not even that.
Oh.
So much was happening at that point. All the business was shut down. Everyone was shut down. And then that happened. It was just so much going on that I don't know. But I did remove, you remember you weren't supposed to talk for 7 days. They said this was a 7-day blackout.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that. And the next day, I started posting. I was the first one to start posting.
Did people say, Alex,
no,
you're
they
supposed to
did
be
not.
quiet?
No, they did not. Because I wasn't going to, no.
Well, you know why? Because after an hour of all of their favorite influencers being silent, everybody was bored to death because that was a stupid idea.
Dude,
it was boring.
I don't even want to talk about it. Like that, it's just, I don't want to talk about the truth of the matter because people
Why not?
Because people can't handle the truth. And no one wants to know the truth. And the truth, the truth about like numbers and like who actually kills who and all that kind of shit. If people would just read the truth, then we could get somewhere, and we can get somewhere. People, people's lives would be better. But no one wants to do that. It's actually really sad because I'm not being affected by it. My life's great. I'll never, it's your life. People who are not reading the facts and
they live in fear. Yeah, they live in fear, and I can't imagine when I see these like Gen Z people on TikTok just talking about how they're on 800 medications, they're so depressed, they have so much anxiety, all this. I'm like, dude, like no wonder, because you think the world's gonna end in 9 years or whatever it is from climate change. You think the police are out to get you, all these things that are just like BS. Like I can't imagine living in that state of anxiety 24/7.
Yeah.
You kind of talked about on a channel, like on channel, one of your recent episodes, you were talking about how you saw this scenario happen at the University of Kentucky. There was this kid, a pro-life kid, that was protesting
that kid
abortion.
That brought tears to my eyes.
Yes. And he had a poster of an aborted fetus on campus. And then there was this group of girls, like woke girls who were coming. They were mocking the situation, doing like a TikTok dance and all this stuff. It went totally viral. So viral, the school had to make a statement. And I've never, in all the years I followed you, heard you talk about an issue like abortion. You really don't you talk about big ideas, but you don't get like super political on things that everyone's just going to fight over. And you were like, I never talk about this subject, but this situation was disgusting. So what was it about that viral video that really affected you so much, you think?
I saw that, and it's such a sensitive subject when I just feel like, okay, there's issues that are, it's right and it's wrong. Okay. You can, if you want to have, I feel like in life, everyone should leave everyone alone. I think that you should do you. And I always think that do you, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, do you. So but I also think that there are rights and wrongs. And to me, abortion is wrong. Okay. If you want to get an abortion, you may do it. You may do it. Okay. That's not on me. You live with that decision. It has nothing to do with me or my choices. And if you think that you can come and tell me that I'm a bad person for thinking one way, then you f off my damn channel. Get the f out of my fucking face. I cannot stand people that come to me and tell me that I'm whatever for thinking a certain way. Am I coming to you and saying you're a f***ing devil for thinking it's okay to abort? No, I'm not. Okay. Do what you need to do. But the fact that these girls were celebrating and dancing and joking and laughing over a photo of an aborted fetus, those girls are going straight to hell. Like, I hope that you know that, and I don't give a fuck. Where the fuck are those parents? My mom would have been down there. She would have beat my ass. Okay, that's what I would have. That's what the first thing I thought. I wouldn't, even if I did think like that as a college person, I would have been afraid of my parents. What they would have done, said to me, done to me, whatever. This is sick. The way that people are nowadays to laugh about that. If you're gonna have an abortion, go do it privately and shut the up.
Yeah, but they're not doing that now.
But
it's all like
instead,
shout your abortion, and like they're taking TikToks in Planned Parenthood, like cheering and dancing.
This is disgusting. And like, you know, this is like devil. Those are like demons. Those 3 girls dancing to berries and cream, whatever the that was. They're demons. Like, that's a demon devil behavior. And I felt bad for that kid too. See his face? He was like, I felt so bad for him.
He understood how horrific it was.
Yeah, but he was like, he was mortified.
He was just trying to be nice. And that's the sad thing.
I feel so sad for him.
You see these woke, like psycho people on college campuses.
Yeah.
Every video, it's always the same. The more conservative person on college campus is always like calm or whatever, and they're like they're throwing around their table.
One of them they had like their school shirts on. I don't know, like. It was funny because my sister-in-law like went to Virginia Tech or something. She's like, I saw, she had a Virginia Tech. I'm gonna stalk her. I'm gonna go block her or whatever. So it was like,
UK. It was UK.
Was it Virginia? One had
University.
Virginia Tech.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it happened at University of Kentucky campus, UK.
Oh, but one of them had a Virginia Tech sweatshirt on.
Oh, maybe she went there before.
I don't know. So my sister-in-law was like, because she's like thinks the way I do, and she's like, oh my God, she's a Virginia Tech. I'm gonna go look her up.
When do you think that all of this woke stuff is gonna backfire, or do you think it won't ever?
No, it's people. Even woke people, they know that they're embarrassing. Like they do. They know they're ridiculous.
There was a girl.
Did you see? I put on my Insta. I put my my pronouns because I'm just trying to behave.
What'd you put?
Like it, gem, and like ZXEM and it.
Oh my gosh, I saw this person.
I'm just trying to behave. Like, Instagram, are you proud of me? I put my pronouns up.
Put your pronouns.
Yeah.
You got to put the get vax stuff in your stories.
Oh, I do that. I do that, right? So because they shadow about me so much, I put that on there now. So I go to the front.
There was this girl that I know that it was because she was watching like woke compilation videos of people acting cringy, like what you're talking about, like trashing tables on college campuses, mocking the pro-life kit, all that stuff.
They're always ugly too. They're always ugly.
Well, she watched a compilation and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I'm like," and she was so embarrassed that she changed her mind.
Just on that.
Yes.
Sometimes it helps to watch yourself. Not in my case.
Not in my case. What is the biggest misconception that people think about you that you want to just clear the air on?
I always say that, like, people, please keep talking about me. You're doing my PR for free. Like, there's everything online is such bullshit. Like, people think that, well, I'm racist. I'm the #1 racist. And anything I do, you're a racist. I say the sky's blue. What do you mean it's blue? It's light blue. You're racist. Like, I'm just sick of it. But
everything they don't like is just racist.
Anything's racist. I'm automatically racist. Yeah, I'm racist. Okay, stupid. And then they'll take that. Alex HRH said she's racist. Here's the clip. Because I said I was racist 2 seconds ago.
They'll take it out of context.
Yeah, but they know. I just love it. Like, people say that, like, oh, how does she afford that house now that she's divorced from her husband who made all that money? Okay, yeah. Like, see what they think that, like, my ex had the money. So dumb.
You literally own your own business. You have a YouTube channel.
It's everything. It's like, I'm racist.
Do they let you monetize on YouTube still?
They do, and they always give me like applause for like doing for filling out everything correctly. I think YouTube likes me.
Where's that energy from Instagram?
I don't know.
YouTube does like you.
Yeah.
Well, you've been on there. You've been a creator on there forever. I think they're better than Instagram about treating their influencers and creators better.
Really?
That was a huge thing in the last year. All these influencers on Instagram that were primarily there, they've all left the platform because they felt like with all the algorithm changes and all the crap at Instagram, they were like, they don't treat their creators well.
No.
Like, because YouTube will send you guys plaques for views and all the special things they do.
Yeah. Nothing for Instagram.
Nothing.
They just censor you, and anything you say, even woke people get shadow banned.
It's nuts. Well, because the thing is, you'll never be woke enough. It changes on a daily basis.
I know. That's why I'm trying to behave. I put my pronouns up.
She's an it.
I'm an it. I'm a gem. A ZXEM.
ZXEM.
That's how I feel today. Okay, you guys, don't judge me.
Okay, so what else is coming up? Talk about your jewelry. What's special about HRH Collection if people are looking for jewelry?
Oh, women-owned business.
Made in the USA.
Made in the USA, of course. I hand make about 90% of my jewelry. Alex always wears it.
It's true. I have on
she's got 2 pieces on.
necklaces
I just brought her
on.
that one, Mini Bold Miami.
Yes.
I've had my business for like 10 years, and it's me. I'm hand make all the jewelry, just Judy, basically and I have one other helper. And yeah, everything is really organic. It's like I said, handmade in the US and by me.
Where can they buy it?
Just online, shophrh.co.
And then what's your YouTube channel?
HRH Collection.
What other big things? You're talking about how maybe you'll be on the Bible soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Cosmo. I think I'm doing something with Cosmo.
Cosmo magazine?
Well, online, but yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. That's amazing.
I know. Yeah, them and Spencer Pratt. Supposed to be on with him.
Dude.
Apparently he's redoing his thing right now, but I'm going to be the first one on when he opens it up again because they're redoing
his new
the
season
format. Yes, that's what he said. So he asked me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like blowing up right now. It's funny because see these woke people. They are doing all my PR for free.
Alex, you understand that you were the fat girl in high school that sat in the bathroom and ate by yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be on Cosmo, Jackie Schimmel, Spencer Pratt. You're on The Spillover. You're doing all this.
One.
You're doing all of this right now. I mean, does that click with you?
No, not at all.
Ming doesn't understand who she's living with, how good she has it.
Yeah, not at all. Actually, I don't know. I don't think I don't even know. No, it doesn't register. It doesn't. I don't know.
Well, I'm super proud of you. I will always be one of your biggest fans and supporters.
Thank you so much.
I consider myself like a day one because I was just like, oh my gosh, I remember I went on this reality show in 2016 and they took away, we were not allowed to watch TV, listen to music, read books, have our phones, something. For 5 weeks, I was in a foreign country on a freaking deserted island, had nothing. One of the first things I did was go back and watch your videos when I finally was able to have internet again.
Oh no, really?
It was one of the first things because I missed it.
Yeah.
So I freaking love you. I think what you're doing is so amazing. And you know what? Exactly what you say. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
Because some people I know, they might hate your delivery and it's just the style. Because what I think is so fun about you is that you talk like a Valley girl, but everything you're saying is truth.
Right.
If it was delivered by Ben Shapiro or somebody more serious,
and that's what's
they would
cool.
listen.
Yeah. No, that's what's cool. I feel like I'm reaching a lot of, and that's why I think Instagram hates me, because I am reaching a lot of people who are not necessarily anything.
Yeah.
They're
apolitical.
like, she's right. Yes. What she's saying is right.
Because and sometimes people get caught up in political parties and stuff. It's not about that. But that's the thing. The ideas that you talk about.
It's not a clown world. That's it. We're talking about real shit.
Exactly. And just the idea of, in the state of California, the bigger government is, the less freedom you have, the more it sucks. All of those ideas, though, are just, you don't have to subscribe to a certain party or vote. There are just ideas like that is just better for America.
Yeah. Because I'm a racist. I'm a racist. Oh my God, my watch again. Damn it. I gotta get this thing fixed.
This has been
Sorry.
everything I've wanted and more. Alex, thank you for coming on the Spillover.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me.
Maybe I'm biased, but I think Alexes are Spitfires. The world needs more Alexes, even though the world really only has one Alex HRH. In an online world of voices that all blur into one loud voice, there's an even louder voice that sounds nothing like your average influencer or media personality, and she's probably going to tell you to shut up! I think that not being everyone's cup of tea is kind of how she reaches people. Alex Pierce has carved out a no BS space for people who aren't even political, but see what's happening and need someone to voice their WTF for them. I don't even think it's that she's controversial. She's just unapologetically edgy, and someone's got to be that way. I also think she's just freaking hilarious. In politics, the same points get made every day, and there's not always a lot of variety in how information is delivered. But Alex Pierce is redefining that by saying what we're all thinking. New episodes of The Spillover come out every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and something new, no more waiting till Friday to watch recent interviews. We'll now be dropping episodes on the Politics YouTube channel on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Pacific, so you can watch live and participate in the chat. And actually, this episode you're going to want to watch because, it's Alex HRH. You have to see her facial expressions and her little hairbrush she brought, and also the swear counter that we have. It's all epic, okay? So before you go, please leave a 5-star review with your favorite HRH quote from today. I'm Alex Clark, and this is The Spillover. Love you, mean it. Bye.
dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah. Ride around the city with a stick all black. Try with a stroke, but we ain't with all that. Yeah.
I wish that I could say American government overreach stopped with Ruby Ridge, that perhaps the FBI, ATF, and other government entities learned a lesson when the Weaver family's experience on the mountaintop came to a fatal end. But that wasn't the case at all. So today I'm back with yet another American story of government power gone wrong, when innocent Americans, literally children, paid the cost of government overreach with their lives. Let's step away from the mountain in Idaho and head far south to Waco, Texas, not even 1 year after the Ruby Ridge siege. Waco is a small town located in central Texas with green, grassy plains and a quiet American feel. Before Joanna Gaines rebranded the town with her Magnolia Market and Keith Raniere brought addictive cult stories back to our living rooms, there was David Koresh, a notorious American cult leader and a very different Waco, Texas. What transpired in the all-American town was a moment that would haunt modern American history forever. It redefined how society sees religious extremism here at home and how we talk about the idea of a cult. More importantly, it highlighted a dark reality that not even the freest society is exempt from: government overreach. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Waco Siege: Religion, Cults, and Tragedy in Texas. The Waco siege lasted 51 days, but the religious sect that came to be known as a cult in the 90s had been around for more than 50 years. Let's go all the way back to the 1930s, when an immigrant named Victor Hutef broke away from Seventh-day Adventist theology and formed a group called the Davidians. He believed that he was destined to be part of a kingdom during an apocalypse that was guaranteed to occur. The kingdom, he argued, would be like the Davidic kingdom in the Bible. In preparation for the end of the world, he bought a compound in Waco, Texas, and called it Mount Carmel, prophesying that it would be the very site of the post-apocalyptic kingdom. If this isn't a power trip, I don't know what is. Under Hotep, the Davidians functioned semi-communally. They stuck to themselves as much as possible and worked together to sustain the community by farming and constructing their own buildings, electrical, telephone services, sewage, and water systems. They all put their work, time, and money into this place, all because they believed their leader was this Christ-like figure who was going to lead them through the end times. Spoiler alert, the world did not end, but their world sorta did when Hotep died in 1955. This meant that a whole new power trip had room to arise, despite the fact that Hotep's widow, Florence, was sort of in charge for a second. A man named Benjamin Roden had been a follower of Hotep's and saw this opportunity before him. He pushed his way into power by claiming that God himself was talking to him and formed what we know as the Branch Davidians. Not all of the group was okay with this, but Hotep's widow was making outlandish claims too. She said that the whole world would end in 1959, but she was also wrong. Florence ultimately left the group, which allowed Roden and his few followers to break off and form the Branch Davidians, after Roden declared himself to be what the group actually needed, a message that didn't necessarily resonate with everyone. Still, he deemed himself the leader and then claimed the property New Mount Carmel. Eventually, he died, so the group was taken over by his widow, Lois, and son, George. Their authority, however, was short-lived. In 1983, a controversial man named Vernon Howell joined the group. Let's do a quick mini deep dive into this guy, shall we? Vernon was born to a single teenage mother in Houston, Texas in 1959. His childhood was difficult, and he was raised primarily by his grandparents. At an early age, he was introduced to the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. As a young man, he reportedly believed that God had spoken to him, saying that he was God's chosen Messiah. Before he turned 18, Vernon had memorized the Old and New Testaments of the Bible. However, his intrigue with the Bible and his church attendance didn't keep him from having problems in the church itself. Vernon ended up falling out with church leadership
leadership after he aggressively pursued the daughter of a pastor. Random fact, but he also attempted to become a rock star in Los Angeles before finding his way back to the church. So he left Los Angeles and returned to Texas and made his way to Waco. By then, he'd given up his dream of being a rock star and claimed to be a prophet instead. But conflict with leadership was still a character trait of his. Remember, Benjamin Roden had died, leaving the Branch Davidian congregation to Lois and George Roden. Then Vernon showed up, and of course, he was as power-hungry as ever, and he didn't hold back from confronting the group. Naturally, he found a rival in George Roden. Allegedly, Vernon had an affair with Lois, which could not have helped George's feelings towards Vernon at all. In the meantime, he was forming his own group of Branch Davidian followers. Still, that wasn't enough. They want absolute power. Remember, he thought of himself as the Messiah. There was no room for two, just him. And he needed to build up his own army of followers. Nothing could stand in his way. Even early on, it's clear now that he had a belief in violence as an answer for achieving what he wanted. Tensions between Vernon and George mounted so high that in 1987 they had a shootout, which resulted in attempted murder charges against Vernon and some of his supporters and accomplices. They were eventually acquitted due to a mistrial, and George was eventually found guilty of murder for an entirely different altercation. In 1990, Vernon changed his name to David Koresh, the name that ultimately would be made infamous by the entire world. Maybe some of you have heard the name before today. Interesting fact that shows just how narcissistic this guy was. The name he chose reflects King David and King Cyrus from the Bible. Cyrus equals Koresh. This ties back into the original Davidic kingdom intrigue that the group had way before Koresh came along. One report emphasized the importance of this name change. The idea of the Davidic kingdom meant something to the Branch Davidian followers, and it was actually very manipulative of Koresh to change his name to something that word for word ties into the belief system. It even says that this distinction between Koresh and the Branch Davidians makes the argument that the two were and are separate things. It's what separates the idea of religion in cult. Koresh led the group commune style. They lived isolated and under the belief that the world was ending and he was leading them through it. Anything beyond the community was bad. They all lived and worked together on 77 acres in a building where the men slept on one floor and the women slept separately on another floor with Koresh. He regarded himself as the sinful Messiah since the Christ before him had been perfect. Koresh felt that by being a sinful Messiah, he could relate to people more. He also believed that any child he fathered would be sacred. He used the teachings of spiritual weddings to justify sleeping with any woman he wanted. One former member named Grace Adams claimed that women needed to sleep with David in order to make it to heaven. It's reported that he fathered over 20 children, primarily with women who weren't his wife, Raish. The men were not exempt from Koresh's rules and were ordered to be celibate. The one major factor that separated Koresh from Hotep and Roden was his intrigue with weapons and even violence. His predecessors led commune style, but they'd been pacifists. I'm not sure how they prepared for the apocalypse they preached about, but Koresh and his followers stockpiled ammo and weapons. Okay, pause. You have to wonder, how many faux apocalyptic aficionados was it gonna take to get this group to understand that the world wasn't ending anytime in the 20th century? Still, the Davidians continued their weapon collection, and eventually, someone took notice. That someone was Larry Gilbreth, who worked as the UPS deliveryman to the compound. Larry made so many trips to the Branch Davidian compound that they became familiar faces to him. In order to access the property to make the deliveries, he had to go through a checkpoint, which was, of course, run by the Davidians. After some time, Larry became suspicious of the increasingly heavy packages he was delivering. One day, he discovered, by accident, that one of the packages contained grenades. Larry contacted authorities, and soon after, an investigation was launched. Larry hadn't been the only one in the small town to take note of the isolated group either. The Waco Tribune-Herald published the first piece of a series about Koresh, titled The Sinful Messiah, which went after Koresh and the group. The paper ran the first story, much to the detriment of the secret mission the ATF had brewing, so the next day the authorities made their move. A move that would be questioned even up until now. A move I myself believe we should question. One day later, on February 28th, 1993, 5 days after I was born, the ATF descended upon the Branch Davidians' property. Obviously, the hope was to catch them when they were least expecting anything, but the group had been tipped off to the ATF's intentions because of a news crew that had heard about the investigation and wanted in on the story. When the crew came across the mailman on the property, it revealed
why it was there. Little did the crew know that the mailman was a member of the Branch Davidians, who then warned Koresh of the incoming ATF. Controversially, even the ATF learned from an undercover agent the Davidians had been made aware of the mission. Some argue that the ATF should have called it off right then and there, but it didn't. Koresh's prophecies of preparing for a war would come true. Witnesses from both sides can't say for certain who fired first, but the shooting started almost instantly that day, and it didn't end until 6 Branch Davidians and 4 ATF agents died, and over 30 people, including Koresh, were injured. The unforeseen long-term result would be a 51-day siege and even more tragedy. The following day, the FBI took things into its own hands. Very quickly, it was able to negotiate the release of more than 12 children. But Koresh's message was clear. He was not coming out, and neither was his family. The FBI closed in with tortuous tactics, an effort to get Koresh to budge. Temperatures at night reached freezing lows, so they cut electricity to the compound. Then, the FBI used bright lights and loud noises to deprive the group of sleep. One noise was the crying sound of rabbits being killed. Still, nothing. By then, it seemed like this was about getting the remaining children out safely, but the exact opposite was about to happen. Finally, on April 19th, the FBI had had enough. It ramped up efforts with military vehicles and began driving tanks into the sides of the compound, which housed the remaining 80 or so inhabitants. It then began using tear gas for 6 whole hours. It's been reported that the FBI knew the adults had masks, but the children did not. The entire ordeal came to a head when smoke began coming out of a second-story window. In no time, the entire complex was engulfed in flames and smoke. 75 people, plus Koresh, died that day. Of the dead, Koresh, 11 of the adults, and 5 children were found shot to death amongst the remnants of the fire. Think about this. A religious group, confronted by government officials, turned into children, dying horrific deaths deep in a bunker below their home as it went up in flames. These people burned alive. Why the fire started has never been confirmed. What we do know is that the government's overreach of power at the start of the siege and throughout continues to beg the question, why did any of this happen? Why didn't they halt the operation when they knew it was no longer confidential? And how did a fire begin so conveniently once the feds advanced? I don't know about you, but the Waco siege is not something I learned about in school, which I think is a total shame. This should be added to the list of topics that are implemented in grade school curriculum because it's a lesson in determining when the government goes too far. We're living in a time when critical thinking is not just discouraged, but prohibited. And the damage is that younger generations don't recognize government overreach, even when it interrupts their day-to-day lives. In my honest opinion, I think the feds had no right to incite the Waco situation the way it did. Sure, the group was weird, and there are still questions surrounding what went on behind the closed doors of the compound, but we have freedom of religion for a reason, even when that religion is extra fringe. I'm of the belief that cults should be allowed to exist. It's an American right to believe the way you want to believe, so long as you are not harming anyone. I get that there are speculations about the group, but there are so many answers we don't have, and regardless, did it all have to go down in such a final way? Scientologists have a huge case built against them from former members. They are a religious cult, hybrid, or whatever, and I don't see any feds knocking on their door, probably because it's guarded by Hollywood. But in a small town in Waco, things went much differently. The whole ordeal began because the government did not like that a group of religious people had a lot of weapons. The result was not the protection of innocent American lives. Instead, the innocent lives died a horrific death after an agonizing 51 days of intimidation and torture. There were no winners in this situation, and too many lives were lost, including the lives of children. Today, only dozens or so of Davidians exist under the name Branch, the Lord our righteousness. The community has never been the same. I'm not a fan of Koresh. I'm not defending what he stood for or what he did or didn't do when he was leading the group, but I will always stand against big government, and I think we should all be reminded of times in American history when the government crossed the line. Please support us by liking this episode and all the work that goes into Pop Docs. Comment what you thought about Waco, if you live in Waco or if you visited the museums or any of that stuff dedicated to Waco, and if, this has changed your mind at all on government intervention when it comes to cults. Also share this episode, share stories, and hit that save button. We're back tomorrow with an episode at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. This one is going to be special because it is the Friday before Halloween, but I think you're going to like it. We're going to go through all of the top serial killers from each state. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics.
How much does the earth cost? I'm gonna buy the entire earth